candles glitter like you're in a thriller. Heart goes pum pum pum. Ghostly figures, they can get so bitter. Show you want to enter, you can turn back now. You don't know where I've been. What's going on inside? Where the monsters like to come alive, come alive. Do you really wanna know me? I'm really not that cozy. It's up to you, so you decide, you decide. Would you love me at my worst till the coffin's in the dirt? Try to break me like a curse, you know that will never work. I'm a little bit absurd, I like dancing on the verge. Anyone can love a pretty little mansion, but could you love a haunted, haunted house? Or could you love me now? A haunted, haunted, I'm a haunted house. A haunted, haunted house. If you're too scared, get out. A haunted, haunted, I'm a haunted house. Broken windows and a warning scribbled on my wall saying that you better turn around. Wouldn't be the first to try to burn me down. Your move, you do. Would you love me at my worst till the coffin's in the dirt? Try to break me like a curse, you know that will never work. I'm a little bit absurd, I like dancing on the verge. Anyone can love a pretty little mansion, but could you love a haunted, haunted house? Or could you love me now? A haunted, haunted, I'm a haunted house. A haunted, haunted house. If you're too scared, get out. A haunted, haunted, I'm a haunted house. Could you love a haunted, haunted house? Or could you love me now? A haunted, haunted, I'm a haunted house. A haunted, haunted house. If you're just sticking out. A haunted, haunted, I'm a haunted house. Words till the coffin's in the dirt. Anyone can love a pretty little mansion.
Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. Hello. Welcome in, gatekeepers. How are you all doing on this Monday night? So good to see you all in here. What is the paranormal news? What is the news? Oh my goodness. Don't even ask. I hope you have your beverage of choice, possibly some popcorn, maybe some tea and biscuit. I don't know. Maybe you've got a BLT, a sandwich, a cold beer, glass of wine. I don't know. Whiskey balls, whatever you heart desires. I hope you have it there. And I hope you're going to enjoy this next couple hours with Mr. Stockton and I. Very hot tea. It's lavender and, oh gosh, I don't know, chamomile, lavender, and something else. It's a anti-stress tea. I hope it's industrial strength. Don't we all just need that? So welcome in tonight. Good to see y'all. Ted, I see Ted out there. Hi, sweetie. Give Lord Connor a hug for me. I see D-Rock. I see Renice. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? I see Henry. And I think I saw Ian in here earlier. Let's see who else we've got. Julie. Hello, Julie. How you doing? Welcome, welcome. Okay, so tonight, what's going on? Well, I just thought it would be neat to look at a couple of different things that have been in the news over the past decade or so. What's still in the news? What happened maybe 4 or 5 decades ago, and we're still talking about it today? You know, a haunting, like say Borley Rectory or something like that. I don't know if that's been in the news recently, but I know it's been a standard since I've been looking into the paranormal, because it started so much earlier in 1938-ish with Harry Price, right? So what's still in the news? What's in the local news? I think that's one of the neatest things, to look at some of these local news around Halloween. You know, of course, this is so early, but it just seems to start getting there. It seems like fall is coming faster this year. I don't know why, but it's everything seemed to bloom faster or earlier, or, you know, all this different stuff. It just feels different. So anyway, I know last year we started Halloween probably, I think, in September. So why not, right? So there you go. Let me get this man in here now. Steve Stockton, if you don't know Steve, what, he under a rock somewhere? Author, wonderful content creator, podcaster, broadcaster, and just a wonderful storyteller, and my friend. Get in here, Steve.
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
How are you
okay?
doing? I hear you wonderful, honey. How's everybody?
Doing good. I've been working on my studio and been monkeying around with things here, so I hope everybody can hear me okay.
I hear you perfect. Absolutely
Okay.
perfect. I remember that one time you were, I think you were in New Mexico. We kept seeing people walking behind you and dogs howling and all kinds of stuff. I can't see a thing behind you now. It just looked like you're in the...
Got a black screen back there. It's like one of those old projector screens, but it raises from the floor, and I just took that up behind me.
Yeah, that's it. It's done.
That way I don't have to clean up everything.
Remember that with
my messes.
Back in the day, what was it, mid 50s or so? I think that became a big deal with the slide show projector. It would be the circle, and you'd hear the click, click, and the slides would change and go on the screen. You know, everybody with their coffee and cake, enjoying the vacation photos that Dad's showing. Remember? It's been crazy watching all that. And then it was the movie projector that, you know, that they got. That was a big deal. And then, you know, every Christmas,
show it on the wall.
Every Christmas there was something, you know. I remember there was a lot when I was in high school. There was a lot of people going around with 35 millimeter cameras around their neck. That was a big deal, you know. Yeah. Big deal.
Yeah. When I was, I think, a junior in high school, I got a Olympus OM10 as a gift for Christmas. It was a 35 millimeter camera. And that was a big deal.
Wow. Can you imagine? It is funny. You can kind of mark stuff by Christmases, because that's how it, you know, would peel back, whether you're talking about, you know, having just a transistor radio, and then go into, I remember The Thing. Remember, it was like a circle, and you could turn it, it would hang on stuff. That was a big deal. I think that was early 70s or something. And, you know, just watching everything change from the Walkman to the cassette, you know, all that stuff. No matter what you look at, you can look at Nintendo, Atari, going into, you know, all the different steps of that. It's just crazy. And I think it's the same way. It's funny because it doesn't seem to change much in the paranormal as far as
the news articles or the magazine articles, specialty magazines, that's out of the equation right now. But, the news channels, because you and I have talked about it a lot, where you start getting your Halloween, you're getting in the fall, and they start doing their little specialty shows,
Yeah, and we've already started decorating for Halloween. You can't see over here, but
Did you?
all Halloween stuff, and just got these in the mail today. Nicole found them on somebody's Etsy shop. It's these little wooden blocks.
I
That
love
one
it.
says autumn, and I really, really dig some of these. They can be Halloween all year
Oh, I
round.
love it. Look at that.
Go with a string of pumpkins.
Those are
Everybody's
so cool.
favorite candy corn.
Candy corn.
Now
Now look at that,
love
guys.
it or hate it.
See, people doing Etsy shops and stuff and just getting stuff handled, getting things,
And it's
being
hand
creative.
painted on just on a
I
little
love
piece of wood, and then edged, roughed up, just make it look kind of rustic.
Love it.
And we
Look
got
at
all
this.
kinds of stuff here. And if
Hey,
anybody's
Scott.
interested, and this is an unsolicited endorsement, I'll give you the link to their Etsy shop.
There you
Farm
go.
Fresh pumpkins. Look at this one. Fall.
Hey, Lindsay.
These are going up around the house.
That's
tomorrow.
my favorite. That's my
It just
favorite.
came in the mail this
Traffic
afternoon. I
cones.
love this one.
Scarecrow crossing. Oh, that's great.
Crossing. Got that rustic.
It's just
look.
all over the house.
And I love fall most of all.
That's so cool. Love that one.
And there's even more here.
Henry had a Polaroid swinger. Harvest Moon.
Harvest
Oh,
Moon. I love
that's
that
my new
one.
favorite. That's my new favorite.
They're all great.
Yep, that's my new
And,
favorite.
Let's see. Harvest. Hey,
Hey,
Rides,
Rides,
pumpkins, apple cider.
Those are awesome.
And
Henry had a Polaroid swinger. Keeper of the pumpkin patch.
I love
great.
that one.
Let's see if I've got.
Yeah, I remember those
I had
Polaroid
a-
swingers. I had one of those. And there's one more here. It's not Halloween, but it is fall related. After all that one, then you got Happy Thanksgiving. So we're way ahead of the game.
You're way ahead of the game. My goodness, I'm inspired. Where's
And,
my pumpkin?
We're trying to get the baby an outfit every day
Every
for
day.
October, so he can be on the
Where's my
31 nights of
pumpkin?
Halloween with me and wear something different every time.
Oh, wow. Here's my pumpkin. Here we go. There he is. Halloween Town. Woo! I love that thing. I just love it. And Duncan. I'm supposed they probably got their pumpkin spice out already, don't they?
I don't know if they do
Almost.
yet or not, but they should.
I mean, it's not even August yet. People have a fit.
Yeah,
Start
but
too early.
it's time. It's time.
Paranormal.
Time for fall.
I got all whacked out of because when I was working at AC Moore, like 10 years, I would be making Christmas ornaments for the display the week before 4th of July. So, I mean, I had holiday whiplash from Kendall Can't. Trust me. You were never doing things. And we weren't getting it out early enough because the crafters, they had to get their stuff early so they can make all their stuff for the fall crafts. And that would all be Thanksgiving and Christmas stuff. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. So you're starting that stuff in June. It's crazy. And before you know it, you've caught your tail and you start it all over again. Because you catch yourself right up. It gets nuts. It's kind of hard to enjoy a holiday when you're putting up spring stuff, taking down Christmas 2 weeks before Christmas, and you're putting up Valentine's.
And I was in the grocery store earlier, it was last week, and they already had boxes of Halloween candy pushed up on a cart in the aisle. They hadn't put it out yet, but
Did
they're
they?
getting ready to, I guess, that day. So
I guess start early. Start early. What is this? This is the website
that's
for them?
Grimm's Prims or Grimm's Prims, either one. That's who we
Hey,
got
hanging.
those from on Etsy. All those things I held up there. Again, that's an unsolicited endorsement. Don't know the people, but I like the work.
They did a nice job.
They got all kinds of stuff on there.
Hey, Lindsay. Well, I've got my popcorn. We've got a couple of ghost stories. I got a couple of UFOs, and I've got some surprise local news of haunted things. And I've got a slideshow, but the darn thing, it must be when I'm downloading it. It says to download it if you're doing Google Slides. And once you've got everything together, you download it as like a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And it shifts all of my words every time. It doesn't matter how I've got it lined up or whatever. When it loads it up, and I might have something in one spot or another, when I load it up, it moves that too, like a picture or something. I don't know. I can't figure it out, but it's all cattywampus tonight. But I'm going to throw these little things out there. They're real short. Some of them are really good, you know, as far as what's local and what's haunted and what are they talking about, you know. I think it's kind of neat. Last night, Steve, we had the ghost of George Washington give us a grand tour of Mount Vernon.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that, but I fell asleep. But
it was so much fun.
What I saw looked good.
It was so much fun. I mean, my gosh, you stand on that, you know, the porch and look at that view, and you know what the people were fighting for. It was just absolutely gorgeous out there. Shenandoah Valley, all of Virginia, so many beautiful places in you know, in this land of ours, you know. So let's see what we've got here.
Just up there, and going to be apple picking time in that area, and then up here in New England too. Before you know it.
Before you know it, it'll be leaf peeping time.
Yeah.
I think, is this one here? Never go back. All right, that's backwards. So let's go this way and see what happens.
There's nothing like going to look at the leaves and then stopping at a little farm stand or a farm store and getting you some apple cider that was pressed on site. And
oh gosh, it's so good. I had an apple cider. What was it? Like a not a smoothie, but it was like an icy, like a Slurpee, but apple cider. It was so good. It was so good.
I overdid it on the apple juice when I was a kid, apple cider. So trust me on that one. Be careful.
Be careful. I bet. Like that time I got a sale on, I guess it was diabetic chocolate chip cookies or something, and I got stuck in traffic and wound up eating half a box. And boy, I'll tell you what, I'll never do that again. I had no idea.
You got to see this story. Tonight, a couple is sharing their experience of living in a Hillsborough house they say is haunted.
I could not do this. CBS 17's Bridget Chapman spoke to the Maxwells about their time in the house and dug into the dark history of that property.
By day, this historic colonial home awes the many people who drive through Hillsborough.
It's this beautiful, like, Greek revival looking thing. And we're like, wow, how dreamy. And like, it's right by the river. Yeah. It just seemed really ideal.
Brooke and Tom Maxwell were searching for a new home in 2014 when the property caught their eye. The walkthrough was anything but ordinary.
And they had like grandparents in the dining room, like set up in like a makeshift bedroom, and so many children, and they were moving. And so it was like a lot of
kids following us up and down the stairs.
Very high energy.
Captivated by the low rent and quizzical vibe, they signed a lease. The Maxwells moved into the historic home known as Poplar Hill, which was once owned by Julian Carr.
Julian Carr was a nasty piece of work.
Carr was a tobacco and textile manufacturer and a white supremacist. He purchased the home with his wife Nanny in 1891.
I don't think that there was any stopping whatever was going to happen from happening.
It would take us hours to share all of the experiences the Maxwells had there. Here's just a handful.
And I heard a car pull up. I heard wheels on the gravel driveway, and I heard the door open, the squeaky mudroom door. So I knew that she was home. And I went downstairs to greet her, and no one was there. The car wasn't there, and the door was closed and locked.
And I would see this figure come out of the chimney, the firebox, and crawl across the floor, and then appear next to me in bed.
So I'm facing the house. Behind me is the circular driveway that goes around the house. And I look over to my right, and moving like a spinning top is a cylindrical shadow, tapered at both ends.
This bottle went flying off of the shelf, and it like broke all over the floor. And she and I just, we both saw it happen. It wasn't like, oh, it fell down. It like shot across the room.
The Maxwells aren't alone. They say relatives who visited also felt or saw something.
So like that's why it was validating, because shared experience, obviously, like you can corroborate what just happened, and it makes you feel less crazy.
The Maxwells say they didn't really talk about what they were seeing or feeling during their time at the house.
With the frequency in which it happened, it would just be annoying at some point to keep saying, did you see that? Did you see that?
They say whatever was on the property was becoming more brazen, and the landlord let them out of the lease a little early.
When we left the house, it was just literally shut the door and never go back.
We didn't know any of the history of this house when we lived there. So now that we know about it, it's easy to go back and try to make narrative sense.
I went to the library in Hillsborough to see what I could learn. A man named James Hogg built the house in 1794. The Hogg family name later changed to Alves. Records show during the time the property was in that family, 12-year-old Mary Alves was shot and killed at the home by a family friend. It was deemed a tragic accident.
What many people connected to this house all have in common is they're buried right here at the Hillsborough Old Town Cemetery.
Records show it was moved to where it is now in 1980 by a man named James Freeland. And years later, researchers found and excavated graves on the property. The Okanagan tribe also once owned the land. Neighbors tell me only one other family has lived in the house since the Maxwells moved out. They were only there for half a year. The house is now empty.
I think I would make it a museum. I think that if you could turn it into some sort of beneficial, some sort of like generator for money for a town like Hillsborough.
Saying perhaps the acknowledgement of the history and its energetic signature would make the madness stop.
There's a whole hidden history here that's not being told.
The Maxwells say they'll never go back.
People get upset like when you share stories like this.
Yeah.
And I've had people contact me and say, oh, that didn't happen. Have you ever considered this? Have you considered the possibility of this? And I'm like, I've considered everything.
Saying they're not here to try to convince anyone, but simply share their story.
The experiences that Brooke had or that I had, I don't expect anyone to believe it. And it doesn't matter. I know what happened to me.
In Hillsborough, Rich Chapman, CBS 17 News.
Okay, I totally believe them.
I do too.
I have no doubts that what happened to them is real.
And if you don't believe them, the house is empty. Go check it out.
Oh my goodness. Now the house is part of a haunted ghost tour within Hillsborough. So we went along on one of those tours.
We'll have that story on our website, cbs17.com. Now, we did reach out to the current owners of the house, but they did not get back with us.
They're probably upset with us. Now I feel kind of bad. But, you know, that's the history of the house. What?
I like his pink tie. Did you see his pink tie and this little thing? That's pretty cool. Well, see, there's the thing. You get so much in these little local news blasts, you know, these seasonal, you know, informational little spots that they do. You're going to get, of course, the local haunt. You're going to get people digging into the legends and the stories and a little bit of history. And I think that's kind of cool. Some good things have really come out of these little investigations, Steve. What do you think?
Yeah, I always love it around spooky season when the local TV stations run out to the local haunted house or the haunted bridge, Crybaby Bridge or whatever.
We love you back, sweetie. It's Conflict says hi, Steve.
Like that. Hey, Conflict, how you doing, buddy?
Are you doing good? So I think that's kind of neat. And I bet you have a lot of them. I mean, does your local news hit a lot of that? I mean, it's got to be coming soon.
Yeah, around Halloween, they showed it. But I don't watch much local TV, but there was a lot of stuff on there and in the papers and stuff about Salem and places like that, of course.
I'm sure. I'm trying to get old Richard. See, now I can't think of his last name. I know it as well as my own. He's out there by you, and he's been in this forever. And I think he's still active in. I think he's still doing ghost tours and history tours and things like that. I'd love to get him on here.
I think I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember his last name either.
All right. We'll I'll think of it. It'll pop in as soon as I stop thinking of it. It'll pop into my head. Let's do another one. You ready for another one?
Yep.
It's going around the world here. Well, around the United States anyway. If you live by any of these places, let us know. Let's do this one. I haven't seen a lot of these all the way through, so I'm going to be surprised with you.
What is it about ghost stories that just kind of gets under our skin and you begin to question, is it real? Well, there's quite a few urban legends here in Nebraska. And we're going to look at one where you might hear the screams of 7 sisters.
He was all in, wasn't he, Steve?
By day, this
red light
road outside of Nebraska City.
I was listening to something about this
farmed
today.
Trees dot the landscape, unassuming. But this road, some say, has a dome. The landscape.
You can't hear me either. I was saying, what did you say? I missed. You were hearing about this story?
I heard about this today on something else that I was listening to. Just happened to talk about that. So
wow,
a little bit of synchronicity there.
The screams of the Seven Sisters. Okay, in Nebraska. All right.
Yeah.
Unassuming. But this road, some say, has a dark history. One of murder, savagery. This is the Seven Sisters Road.
There are many different variations of the legend, but the main one is that in the late 1800s, early 1900s, a father, for some reason, got upset with his 7 daughters, and he hanged them individually on hills, on trees, on each of the 7 hills that are on this road that lead down to the Missouri River.
When the sun goes down, the pitch black, eerie night becomes a playground for restful spirits. 7 sisters reliving their fate, attacked by their evil father over and over again.
Then you hear things. You hear screams, you hear moans, you maybe catch a glimpse of white nightgowns in the distance or lights fluttering. There's all sorts of stories that happen.
A word of caution if you dare to make the trip. The spirits won't let you pass free of charge.
The car comes to a stop, and then you get out and pop the hood, see what's wrong. If you're brave enough to get out of the car while you're parked on Seven Sisters Road.
Braving the road late at night, 3 News Now investigators had some experience of our own.
What was that?
Strange sounds coming from our microphones.
It was like a oop.
Fully charged batteries dying. It made our skin crawl. Local lore comes in different forms. Some say it's not even sisters, but an evil monster or a bear. It really depends on who you talk to.
There was always some kind of a saying there's spooks down there and everything else.
The story evolves. The legend spreads.
That's all I need to know.
Spooks,
what do you think about this being considered the most haunted road in America?
Well, it could be. It could be.
3 News Now investigators
it's good enough for me.
To find out the real story. Local historian Tammy Parch delved into the lore.
There would be record of this. You cannot murder or have 7 daughters in one family killed without being some sort of record. Nebraska City had a newspaper starting in the 1850s, more than one.
But maybe there's a reason for that. Perhaps local leaders back then didn't want their peaceful small community known in such an infamous way, known for a horrendous murder. It could have been scrubbed from the history books. It's all speculation. For folks today, they see and hear what they want. Visit at your own risk.
I'm not going to go out of my way to come down here at night. I don't want to say that I believe in this sort of thing because that's kind of silly, but just in case.
Reporting from the other side, Jeff Van Sant, 3 News Now.
This is the little secret.
That's another good one. Now, you had heard about that one before, Steve?
Yeah, I was doing some research today. Over on my Tales Untold channel, I'm doing a series called Dark Tales from Every State, and I'm working my way through each state alphabetically. Connecticut's coming up next, so it's taken a while to get there.
Wow, pretty cool. All right, that's another good one. So I'm going to try to throw a couple of these other ones out here. Now, like I said, the words got all shifted. It's not my fault. It was great when I did. Does anybody know why that is?
In rehearsal.
I know. I there's got to be a thing about it to when you put like certain stuff in there. You know how like when we were loading our book, if you did a comma just like 2 out, it would throw the whole thing off or some kind of mess. It's something like that. But anyhow, I've got a couple of now I was playing with the AI too. I'll tell you, it's wild. I've got a cheap, like just a free one, just playing around with it to see what I can do, because then I can come here and tell you guys, hey, if you're trying to do something, you don't want to put any money into it. There's stuff out there you can do that's not going to cost a lot. Money's tight. So this one that I talk to and I'll tell it, I love the skeleton, but it'll still do those funny things, Steve. It's like you'll ask them like breaking news and you're so focused on the skeleton or whatever the hell this is coming out of the microphone, but I'm digging it. And that was their idea, not mine. But you're focused on that, and then you notice that they spelled breaking wrong, or the news has like 3 W's in it.
Yeah. AI is a terrible speller from my experience.
Are you experiencing that?
It just doesn't give it.
It doesn't give a shit.
Crap. Yeah, it doesn't
I know.
give a shit.
So anytime you've got anything that you're spelling in AI, I didn't even think about it because, like I said, I'm just learning and messing around with it to see what I can do. And half of the stuff was all spelled wrong, and I couldn't use it. But the pictures were really cool. So anyway, so here are some of the weirdest and most intriguing paranormal and supernatural news stories from the United States over the past decade. Now, of course, they're just touching on a couple. They're just mentioning out. I think it was a list of 50 or something like that, Steve. But can you see that one? You do one, I'll do one.
Yeah. The Enfield poltergeist, a famous case investigated by paranormal researchers involving a series of disturbing events in a family's home.
See what it did to my words?
Yeah.
How it shifted them, even though I've had it someplace else with no line, and it just decided to move it all back and do what it wanted to do. But that was one. Now, what do you think about that one? I'm never sure what I think about that. I don't know whether it was hoax, a little bit of both, or they had Morse out there. He was
played up, but there was, I believe, something going on there. There was an impetus for it, a little nugget of truth in there. But
I think so. Because that, if you remember, guys, this is the one where the young girl was talking, and it sounded like a very deep voice coming out of her throat, and they had her drink. God bless her, she's a mess now. I mean, she's just so thin and pale and just looks like she's been through ringer and just put up wet, but you can tell she's been through some stuff. But she had this very powerful male voice that was very gruff and gravelly that would come out of her throat. And it was just no way this little 8-9-year-old girl, I forget exactly all the details, but even, for a ventriloquist or somebody throwing it, none of that was going to work. She would drink water and things like that, and you could still hear the voice. So similar to that one direct voice medium, Leslie, can't remember his name, but you guys know what I mean. That's something weird, and then you had that parapsychologist guy. This was in the UK, wasn't it, Steve? I think it was.
I think so.
Yeah. And you had that guy, I think his last name was Morris or whatever, and he stayed with him, and the big mustache and the glasses, remember?
Yeah.
I just don't know what to think of that one. We had a lot of people coming out. I think one of the famous pictures where she was jumping off the bed and they caught her in midair, or it threw her up in the air and they said she was jumping off the bed, or
claimed that they flung her off the bed and the camera just happened to catch her in mid-flight. But then
right.
That was how they debunked it, that she was just jumping off the bed and they caught her.
I just think that's an awful lot. I mean, here's the reality of it. When you think of yourself, wasn't she the lady in there? Wasn't she a single mom or something trying to hack it out of the wilderness of the downtown London or some mess like that? And to add that kind of stuff, that kind of sleep deprivation, worry, fear, not being able to go to work, kids calling out of school, parent-teacher meetings because of the things that are going on at school, the doctor visits, that's an awful lot of crap to go through for so little payoff. I mean, where's the payoff really? They didn't get famous. They didn't get a lot of money out of this. They didn't get, 15 movies made out of, the Enfield poltergeist, 12 or anything like that, where they're getting residuals and stuff like that. So why would a single mom put themselves through this? Now you could say Munchausen syndrome, she just wanted the attention, but man, that's a lot to put yourself through. Normally, and I'm no expert, but as I understand it, Munchausen syndrome is more like you're living vicariously through somebody else who's actually suffering and going through all the mess, and you're living on the attention and the drama of it.
Munchausen by proxy. That's correct.
Is that it? Okay. I knew I was in the ballpark anyway. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, I just
did you?
Yeah. But I've got a message here. It was in the UK.
Was it? Okay.
I think it's
So,
a suburb in North London or something like that. And I interviewed a lady years and years ago, and I don't remember what the story was about, but she lived in that neighborhood and had to walk by that house as a little girl. And she said she was terrified that she would run by it because everybody in the little village there knew about
well, I can just bet. It reminds me a little of that one. Oh gosh, what's the house number 669 Lindsay Lane or something like that? Do you know which one I mean? I mean, that one's crazy. That one's got a talking cat and had all the cops in the living room, and the refrigerator came flying across the room at them from the kitchen and all this other stuff. And they had other people that, cops on the beat that saw it, neighbors. And what makes people just gather in the streets and surround a house like that and watch it just, I don't know, but it seems like the first thing that happens once the word gets out. As soon as you tell the news, that's it. You're going to have all kind of people in your lawn, and it's what do you do? I guess you got to do something, but that's not the route I'd take. I think I'd just get me some really powerful people who knew what they were doing and go in there and take care of it quietly. But these people that don't have that outlet to call the news, and next morning you've got, local news crews and everything on your daggone front lawn. Really, it's just as bad. Hey, Echo, how you doing? As what's going on in the house, the terror and the trauma. That's what I'm saying with the Enfield. That's the only thing that I've ever I keep going back to every time I think about it. And this list is something, like I said, things that might have had happened decades before, but they keep coming up because it's one of those where it could teeter right on that fence, Steve. Unless you were there, there's a couple things you can pick out of it that makes you lean one way or the other, but not really put you all the way over the edge. That's how I feel about it anyway. About the same?
Yep, I agree.
Now, this is another one. The Dybbuk box. And this haunted wine cabinet, said to contain a malicious spirit, has caused numerous misfortunes, including an encounter with Post Malone. Now, here's another AI trick. Look at his tie, Steve.
Can't make up your mind between a bow tie and a regular tie. Well,
honey, that is the El Camino. That is the El Camino of ties right there. Poor skeleton couldn't decide whether he wanted to go bow tie or regular, and he just said, screw it. I said, I'm using this. This is hysterical. And I love the fact that you can kind of, sort of, when you're looking at him, you can he's got kind of that gel see-through skin going on just in the body part. It's like he's not quite a ghost because he doesn't have any around his head. But I'm not making fun of it. I hope the AI isn't listening thinking I'm making fun of it because it'll attack me in my sleep or some kind of craziness. But the Dybbuk box, I'm telling you right now, this one concerns me a little bit. I don't know how you feel about it, Steve.
I would stay away from it. Now, the original Dybbuk box, the one from 2003, Kevin Manis purchased that in Portland, Oregon, at like a yard sale or a junk store or something like that. So when I lived in Portland, I heard a lot about that. And in fact, Clyde Lewis, the guy who has the network that my radio show's on, he opened, I don't know if it was the original Dybbuk box, but a Dybbuk box. They opened one on the air in the studio. And it's kind of like that time when you and I were on with Soraya. They lost control of everything, and the heat shot up, the thermostat stuck, and it wasn't even in cold weather, but it was 90 something degrees in the studio. They all thought they were going to roast and smother in there. So the good things didn't happen when they messed with the Dybbuk box. And I think that it's on the net somewhere. Just type in Clyde Lewis and Dybbuk box, and you can hear that one as it happened. Interesting. Wasn't it also an unsolved mystery, I believe, or something like that? I think so. And I mean, I'm telling you, this one concerns me. And again, thank you so much, Echo Leaf. Look, we're tossing money at us, Steve. Thank you so much. Much love. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you kindly. We appreciate that very much. It goes right into the podcast. Thank you. Hey, welcome in, John. Welcome in. Pull up a part of the couch here, or pick a chair and
I think Ted's took up the whole. Ted's usually the first one in, so he looks around the room and he picks the good seat usually next to the fireplace, doesn't he?
And I think Ted is Googling right now, trying to find out where he can buy a tie like that.
I'm telling you, I like it. I think we should go with it.
Well,
Ted,
now
let me
think
know if you
about
come up
this.
with something.
You've got it on. If you wanted to wear a bow tie, you could tuck the necktie part down in your shirt and have the bow tie. Or if you want it to be just the necktie, you could put your shirt collar over the bow tie part. Or just it. Dare to be a Daniel and just wear it like it is there.
I like it that they went with the bold. Look at Steve. They went with the bold move and they used the same knot for both. Now that's
talent right there.
If
you ever tried to tie a bow tie, they are a genuine pain in the ass.
Yep. It's incredible. And the fact that he's not sure whether or not he wants to have skin. I mean, I love it. But in the background, look at how good the TVs and stuff look in the background with the city and all that.
Like a news
impressive. But here he is by himself. Nobody's helping him out with his mess going on. I don't know. Dybbuk box, I'd say stay away from it. The story is, if you guys don't know, now I'm no scholar in this story either. But from what I understand, there were women from another country. Do you recall where from, Steve? Was it in Poland or somewhere in that area or in that area? And there was something.
Yeah, it was survivors of the Holocaust.
Okay. And supposedly there was a demon. There was something that they had trapped or got off of somebody, was attachment on someone, or had been bothering them, or just lured there by all the evil and the nastiness and, and all the suffering that was going on. I do not know. Apparently these sisters, I think it was, got together, got this thing, trapped it, stuck it in this wine box. Now, why the wood don't ask me. It's not my story. I can't tell you why wood I would imagine there was some kind of energy behind it and the intent of them putting it in there and trapping it, binding it in some way. It wasn't just a wood box that held it. I mean, wouldn't you say, Steve? I mean, that would be my guess. It would have to be.
It's like I was watching some paranormal show a few years ago, and it was a bunch of hillbilly guys that did paranormal investigations. Do you remember I don't remember what the
Tennessee Wraith Chasers and put a demon in it.
Yeah, they put it in like a jug or a box or something, and they took it out in the woods and blew it up. And I'm thinking, that ain't gonna work.
I saw it, but it was good TV. It was good TV. They caught that demon, put it in a mason jar, run it up to the field.
Let's take it out
set that thing afire.
Blow it up. We got some dynamite. Hell yeah!
Set it afire, didn't they? I mean, it just went boom. It's something else. The things people think they can do, I don't know. But see, I believe more two sisters going through a situation in the culture and the surroundings they were in at the time, went through some kind of a struggle, had the wherewithal and the knowledge and the old world knowledge and the energy to go in agreement. Now that's even more power because that's double. And tackled this thing, stuck it in a wine box, put a lock and a penny on it or something. There was some other kind of spit and go kind of thing. I don't know. But anyway, locked it down, took care of it. Somebody passed. It wound up in, Junior's junk barn. And the next thing you know, it's history. Now, everybody that hears about it, oh, well, it killed, somebody or set somebody to having a stroke and wound up in the hospital. And then that guy went and got it and something happened to him. So, of course, when it goes up for sale, everybody wants to buy it. It's one of those things. Explain it to me, Steve. That makes no sense to me. Gosh, I can't wait to buy it.
Yeah.
But that's why that one will always be in the news with old Joe Schmo here in his little tie. And because people are just ignorant. And they're going to continue to be ignorant. And, it's just the dumbest thing. It's like back in the 70s. I knew so many people, Steve, and I know you knew a dozen too. And for brief moments in time, I might have been this person. But those people that would just, all the drugs and stuff that were on the street and everybody, the Quaaludes and the acid and the just stuff. And seeing people go to a party, what's that? Well, let's take it and find out. It's that kind of people that are in the paranormal too.
I knew people like that would take something that somebody handed them and then say, what was that?
What was that? there's people like that,
Not me.
paranormal too.
I stayed away from stuff like that.
Yeah. Mr. Back Zaggins is kind of like that. Because, it's like, give me all the stuff that's cursed and, everything. Look, I've known people that have done that, but they know what they're doing. And no offense to anybody that's been in trouble or whatever. But when you antagonize things, you have a lot of problems. And you don't always know all the problems you have, because these things have nothing but time. And they wait for the perfect time. And by the time you realize, they might get you, they done got you. And that one's been in more trouble than you can shake a stick at. And I know personally, because I know some of the people that have helped them get out of it. But some people, you pull them out of the hole, they turn around and go, man, I missed that hole, back in to go. And I'm like, because people keep buying Dibbit boxes and opening it up and letting the demons out of jars, Steve. It's that kind of people. There's all kinds in every group, right? So those kind of paranormal people do that kind of thing. Like, I'm the dumbass who everybody was running out of the cellar. I was going down into the just walk about. Everybody's going past me. I mean, we all know people like that, but it's for different reasons. You don't go around antagonizing things like this. You want to do this one? This is interesting.
Yeah, the Estes method, a groundbreaking spirit communication technique using the SB7 spirit box. I think that's SB7 or SR7.
I think so.
Changing paranormal investigations.
This is terrible. I got to figure out why it's doing this stuff and how to prevent it. But this is also another very interesting. I don't know much about it. I really don't. But I have a lot of friends at the conventions. In fact, that was just over with. I guarantee they were talking about this weekend. So I put it up there to also bring forward to look at all the different stuff. If you just go over the past 20 years, like the different things, like, everybody was listening to white noise, going way back, and EVPs and things like that. But the different types of equipment, different things we figured out. We showed one here a couple of years back, Steve, where I think it was In Search Of, where they were out in the graveyard and they had all kind of hoses going off, and they had theremins, and they had coat hangers stuck in Zenith television. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Sitting on the gravestones and everything else. And they were all just gathered around having a nice evening out, probably a Thursday, and just gathered in, and they got some stuff back, and they were very excited about it. Probably went to the donut shop or the diner and had a nice long talk about it. It's a good night out. Who you hurting. But the equipment from then, 75, 78 till now, it just blows your mind. It's almost like looking at it. Steve, here's a good example. Look at today in your regular, not over the top, but middle of the road tech person in a ghost hunting group, a reasonable ghost hunting group. You're going to have some nice equipment. You're going to have some things, right?
Yeah, you're going to have a REM pod, the talk boxes, the different ones, the recording devices, the balls that set off the lights and stuff.
Cat balls.
Moves them, yeah. There's all kinds of stuff out there.
The cat ball. I'll tell you what, you don't need much more than, flashlight and, a pair of dowsing rods, a couple cat balls. That's, and I'll tell you, I've been in some of the best places just to sort what's happened. Okay, let's figure out what's going on. You put a couple things out. And of course, whatever's there, if it's going to communicate in any way, whether it's banging on a wall or whatever it chooses to do, or chooses to do nothing, you kind of know what it's going to. So you kind of stick with that. It kind of picks whatever, you know what I mean? You don't usually make it go around robin, like, okay, turn the flashlight on and off, make the dowsing rods cross, please go over there and knock on the wall and move the table and shake the cat balls, I mean, who's doing that? Well, I guess people do that, don't they? I think that's rude.
Yep.
Don't you think it's rude? If you came into my house and you said some stuff like that to me, excuse me, who do you think you are? Yep. You want me to what? Cat balls who? Anyway, I just think it's rude.
How does the cat feel about that?
But I also wanted to show you this. This is similar to that picture. I don't know about you guys and your experience with AI, but it's just, like I said, I'm just trying to sort it. So I keep throwing stuff at it. And this is its answer to something that's called blocking. Okay. Now listen, my parents were in advertising, and not too much is missed on me in graphic arts and stuff like that. But when you start mixing graphic arts and computers and what the computer thinks you're saying, that's totally different to me. So this little guy, this is its answer to a ghost in a newsroom with an eerie background. And I'm not sure how it looks. It's not really Art Nouveau. It's more, I don't know. What would you say?
I don't know. It's kind of
pixelated.
Yeah, there's some.
It's kind of cool though. In a way,
kind
it's
of
got
morphing going on there. Some sort of.
It almost looks like a dog in a Halloween costume.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. There's some polygons there for sure for the ghost, but
it does. It looks like a dog. That famous dog in the Halloween costume, the sheep.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a reporter ghost. I don't know. All right, next. Okay. Oh, this one. There you go, Steve. That one's not too messed up.
The Amityville Horror. The ongoing saga of the haunted house in Amityville, New York continues to capture public imagination. They did a great job on the.
Isn't that great?
There.
That was my favorite.
Be some way to tell it to center that text or block the text or align it, justify the text. There's got to be a command in there to tell it not to do the widows and orphans like it's doing there.
I don't know what in the world, because I've tried to do everything from just, when I put it in the box, your text box, and you put it in and it looks fine. Sometimes I'll shift it all the way to the other side. Sometimes I'll have it across the bottom and it winds up in the top corner after it's loaded up.
Maybe there's a poltergeist and the ghost in the machine.
And then see how it's muffled all the words, and they've,
that's a story for you there.
Shift, yeah, ghost in the machine
using AI to communicate with people.
Oh, there it is. Well, I wouldn't write it out, but I think it did a great job on the picture. This was probably try 8, because it'll give you 4, and you'll go, okay, can you adjust this or make the ghost whatever, and then it'll give you something completely different. I'm like, no, go back. I like that one, just adjusted a little bit. This one turned out pretty good. I can't remember how many tries it was though, but so Amityville Horror, you can't really say that Amityville Horror hasn't been in. It's like the paranormal soundtrack of our lives. It's been there, since early 70s, and it's constant with the movies and all the made up BS and the extended books and, good Lord, all the spin-offs and everything else. It's been out there for quite a while. And, if you want to know how I feel about it, I've got about 6 shows, 2 hours apiece. Totally thoroughly going through the pockets of everybody involved in this thing, and put it all out on the table for you to decide. So you can go back and watch that. It's in the whole playlist. Knock yourself out. It's a good series. I think Lincoln is my favorite, but the Amityville, that one was fun, and it was also horrific to go through and imagine, that kind of thing. But I'll tell you something now. Please don't be offended by this. But ever since I was, this is going to be so weird, Steve, so you better hang on. Ever since seeing this, now, again, I was a teenager when this happened, and I was in New Jersey. So Long Island's, hop, skip, and jump away, right? So we were all in it. And I'd been studying it since early. So, pretty much when it happened, all the way through. So the pictures and the crime scene pictures and things like that, it wasn't very long before those were released, and they were in paperback books. And, remember when you got a paperback book and have all these pictures in the center, so you'd have the black and white, almost like a newspaper print in the middle. So I was so used to seeing the unfortunate demise of the DeFeos, of Ron DeFeo Sr. in his boxer shorts on that queen size or king size bed with the gold stuff and the blankets and stuff, the way it was, that right away, before I was ever, I think, a freshman in high school, I was already saying, watch what you wear, because you could wind up dead.
Splashed all over the news in it.
If he knew, I would think weird
And
shit
that's
like
why
this.
your mom would always tell you to wear clean underwear when you go out in case you get in an accident.
I mean, if he knew the way that man was and how proud he was of himself, and he was very narcissistic. I mean, watch the series. But if he knew that that was going to be the last thing that the world, saw him, like, and forever, he's forever immortalized in those, you know what I mean? I know it's a morbid thought, but
yeah,
I
never considered that. Poor guy. Yeah, that would be.
But it makes you think.
Like that.
Yeah,
it could have been worse, but not by much.
Yeah, and it's what Granny says. Never, I wouldn't want to be caught dead in it. That kind of thing. But I think the inflection on that is wrong. It's we tend to add that over time. It gets watered down and squished and squashed like silly putty, some of these phrases. But I think when it probably was originally said, when Granny was saying, I wouldn't want to be caught dead in it, it meant, had a little bit more of a meaning than just it was an ugly outfit, because
another one I used to hear was, I wouldn't wear that to a dog fight. You ever heard that one?
Yeah. But it makes you think. It's like you want to ask, well, what would you wear to one? What do you wear? What's the proper outfit for that?
Yeah, my mom would always do that. Well, wear clean underwear in case you get in an accident. And I said, if I get out and get hit by a car, I'm going to crap my pants anyway. You'll just have to wash them twice. And then she didn't appreciate my humor.
That's so mean. See, I like this picture. I like what AI did with this one. This one was fun. It's comforting. It's cozy. I like it. That amount of clocks bothers me because I'm always going to be behind, and it would always remind me I'm going to be too early or too late for something, and that would make me put me through a wall.
Spelling, it has a problem with clocks. You can say, I want a clock that's showing 2:33.
I wonder if they're correct.
And it won't do it.
It won't do it.
It'll just put them all in there willy-nilly.
I didn't even look to see if like the Roman numerals
have extra hands, I think, or the numbers. I've had them out of order. I was trying to make a thing for 13 past midnight. I'm like,
right.
I could not get it to show it. So finally I just had to take a clock face and then put the hands on it myself in Photoshop and make it point to what I want.
You have no idea what we go through just to get a couple of, hey, Sir Bowden, just to get a couple of pictures together to give you guys something to look at. I'll tell you what, there's been stuff that I've just labored over for the stupidest stuff that lasts a second.
I've spent hours and hours and hours just trying to get one picture to the way I wanted it.
Yep. But this one, I kind of dig the stuff.
That's close. And then it just like, it like drank its lunch and throws something out there that doesn't have.
And then they'll spell news with three W's. Three W's, Steve. But look at what's on this, whoever this is that would be sitting, maybe there is somebody sitting in the chair. I don't know. But they're obsessed with time. I mean, there's even clocks on the
they used to do that in newsrooms. You remember like the Mary Tyler Moore show and things like that, where it would show the newsroom that have clocks. And each one was a different time zone, so that was the reason behind different clocks in a newsroom, like Tokyo, London, Paris, New York, Los Angeles.
Yeah, that wouldn't bother me so much, if it had the different names under it, like London, Tokyo, Paris, like you said. I don't think it would bother me as much, but there's something just that causes anxiety looking at that many clocks looking back at you. It's unnerving. For some reason, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but this one anyway. I'll read this one. The Eastern State Penitentiary has an historic. Maybe I won't read it. A historic prison in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, known for its hauntings. So Eastern State Penitentiary. I think that really shot up when Penn State got its paranormal TV series. That really kind of pushed it forward, and a lot of the TV shows would go there because it was a big penitentiary, old building, just a massive compound of buildings, this place. And then just to sit there and, rotting, and they found out they could make money having people rent it to do investigations. They opened wide up. Is that Cisco's office? No, because look at all those clocks, Scott. It's just, I couldn't be comfortable that much. I don't even like, I like an old clock face. I think it's one of the coolest things. And I love an old pocket watch. I love these faces. But yeah, it would just be, there was an old clock, my grandmother's house. And it was one of those starburst gold clocks, like it was a wall. This was an experience, back in the 50s, 60s. And it was a gold, it was a tiny little.
It looked like a giant throwing star with all the points on it. If you took it off the wall, it'd like stick in somebody's
It
head.
could be a weapon. It was metal, heavy metal.
It was like a diamond shape, and then another one opposing that, and then all these little tentacle-like arms that shot up. It was
an experience.
I hadn't thought about that in decades, but you jogged my memory. Somebody in my family had one. One of my aunts.
She had a gold one. It was behind the. I want to say it was behind a big zenith on the floor, I believe. With the zenith with all the pictures of everybody that graduated high school, the 8x10 in the stand-up frames or whatever. Anyway, it was up there, and it would make this tick, 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 tick in the middle of the night. Tick, tick. Yep. Yeah. Uh-huh. I hate them. Made me nuts. It's like a dripping faucet. I couldn't stand it. The Crescent Hotel, a haunted hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, with a history of paranormal activity. I know absolutely nothing about the Crescent Hotel unless there's a story that I know the story, but I'm not familiar with the name of the hotel. Are you, Steve?
That
was when I wasn't familiar.
When I was doing Arkansas, that was one of the things I came across for my Dark Tales from Every State, but I ended up going with a different story.
With a different story. But I'll have to look into that one. It might be a good story. There might be some good history. I don't know, but it's one of those, as they say, keeps going through the decades. So I guess we'll see. And the wooden Texas clocks, yes. And the cuckoo ones, they were really big in Jersey.
Yeah, there was a clock.
When I was a kid, 60s, 70s. Yep. Is that Felix the Cat one?
No, I remember those though. The ones with where it swished.
The eyes and the tail would move. Yep, I remember people had those too. But it was the funny things that people had. We had a lot of immigrants still coming through, so there were people that might not have been speaking German, or like they might make some dishes still or whatever. But you could tell it was several generations removed from the immigrants that came and stayed in New York. We're talking about New Jersey, and people are spreading out. But they're losing their people. They're losing their grandmothers and grandfathers. And these clocks from Germany, these amazingly intricate cuckoo clocks, like some of them won't just be the cuckoo that pops out. They've got all these like pine cone tendril things hanging down and everything, elaborate pieces. I knew friends that a lot of their grandparents or their parents had these things in their dining room or the living room, passed down. Oh, that belonged to Granny. She came over here on the boat. You'd always be a story. But it would be like little people that would come out and like shake hands or kiss or do something else. And then another bird comes shooting out the top of it and some other kind of mess going on. And this stuff would be like, it might be 12 o'clock at noon, 12 o'clock at night. It might be every hour on the hour. Who God only knows. But my whole life growing up was just filled with the trauma between me and these damn clocks. Every time I go to somebody's house, they'd have some new. I went to my friend's house. We were sleeping over, and I was on the wall that was up against the wall of her mother's prized grandfather clock. It's like everywhere I went, it was a freaking clock. It's funny. I should write a book about that. Haunted by clocks. I take it they don't bother you. The ticking, I can't. There's certain ones.
The loud, some of the grandfather clocks and stuff. My dad collected antique clocks, so I was kind of around them. But I used to mess with them. I remember one time he got mad at me because I rigged up one of his clocks when it started. It had like the bell, ding, 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 ding. I fixed it to where when it started, it wouldn't stop, and he was counting it, and he's like, "That clock just rang 13." He's like, "There's something wrong here."
There's a CBS Mystery Theater, and I can't remember the name of it. I think it's Devil's Due or something like that. But anyway, it's a long story. But this old man, he's a clockmaker, fixer, repair dude, and he's got this shop, and it's loaded down with clocks, and this really annoying either wife or the sister of the wife, and the wife's sick. There's a story. So this guy is going through this misery and having all this nagging going on, and he can't ever do anything right. And his big secret is he's got this clock, and he can, I think, go an hour, you know, for an hour, he can go into the future or the past or something like that. And he gains extra time. He can live longer, but the clock needs blood. So he's got to trick people all the time, like weird things. Like his friend will come over and play chess, and he'll accidentally, like, he'll be like, you know, cutting sandwiches, you know, hors d'oeuvres or something, accidentally slip and cut him with a knife. You know, it's just it's the weirdest story. But this whole time, it's all these different clocks ticking. I have no idea how the story ends. You know why? Because there's all these freaking clocks ticking at the beginning. So I don't know what happens to the guy and his friends. But by the third time, what somebody came over and he accidentally, like, scraped him with a razor blade or a nail or some other kind of thing just so he can get blood for this clock. I was about done anyway, but interesting story there. Has nothing to do with the Crescent Hotel, but there you go. The Waverly Hills Sanitarium, we're off the rails, Steve. A former tuberculosis hospital in Kentucky, famous for its ghostly residents. Waverly Hills Sanitarium. I have not been there either. You're not going to get me to go into a sanitarium or a hospital or any of that, or even a penitentiary. How about you, Steve?
No, thank you.
Big bag of note.
I'll read this one. Hellier documentary, a series exploring a high strangeness in Kentucky involving mysterious caves and strange sightings.
I know much about it. How about you?
I've seen it, and I've talked to one of the guys that's involved with it. I can't remember his name right off the bat, but there's definitely something strange going on in Somerset, Kentucky.
I am really digging this picture, Steve. And I don't know whether it's a concept of AI decided that the ghost was going to be like a blanket. It could be a ghost. Maybe it's just a blanket on a chair. You know, how many times have we talked about the shadows in the room, childhood fears? That right there looks like a ghost getting ready to do the news. You know, but it could just be a blanket. I love the window. I love the whole thing. I love one clock. That's all you need. Just one clock. Very nice. I like that one. That's a favorite. Now, keep in mind, all of these AI pictures that have ghosts in them and the whatever, they're all off the same couple of sentences. This is all its different ideas for what I told it. So don't blame me. This one is, now I wanted to ask you about this. They might have it this year where you are, Steve. It's not far from you. Haunted Salem Live, a live ghost hunt event featuring top paranormal stars broadcast from Salem, Massachusetts. That was like a big event that happened in this decade.
I remember that.
Have you heard?
Be cool. I don't know if they'll be doing it again or not. Won't be able to go this year because the baby won't even be a month old, or might be about a month old. But
there's gonna be a little pumpkin
coming up.
Little pumpkin.
Wait till you see his outfit.
Little jack-o'-lantern, little stinker. My goodness, it's coming up. I'm telling you, it's coming faster than you. Didn't it go fast? Well, I'm sure Nicole's would be a little longer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bless her heart.
It's 6 weeks today, by the way. It says predicted baby day, but I think
baby day.
I give it about 5 weeks. It's huge, and he's getting heavy. He's riding low, and he is a little stinker. He's going to be a little comedian, I'm telling you.
Oh, I know it. You can feel it already.
And, Nicole also pointed out in the movie Hook, there's a scene with a ton of old clocks, and she said that made her uncomfortable too. Doesn't know what.
Thank you.
But there's just
exactly.
There's a place in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. There's a little shopping area called the Village. Looks like stuff from England or somewhere. There's all these little shops in there, and you go up in the back behind it. There's more shops. There was a cuckoo clock shop up there. Oh my God! You did not want to be in there on the hour.
I couldn't do it.
The half hour was bad enough, but there on the hour, it was literally a copy
my gosh
of cuckoo clocks. And and they got off on it. They would be like, you see the people that work there looking around like, it's a minute till 12. Okay, get ready.
Get ready the hell out. Hey, RP, how you doing, honey?
And like there was probably 300 clocks in there going off at one time. And then they got the bright idea that they would stagger them so that they all didn't go off at once. But then anytime you're in there might have been a dozen going off at just any given moment.
Bacon Bit. Oh, my goodness. I love Bacon Bit. That that little boy's gonna have so many nicknames.
Oh, he already does. You wouldn't believe some of the names we call him. Don't want to give anything away because one of those may actually be his middle name.
Oh my goodness.
But somebody pointed out, yeah, AI likes candles. That's kind of obvious.
That's me, because I always go with candles. I always do. It's like
candles with candles.
Put spiders, spider webs, make it an eerie background.
Candles on the ceiling, candles on the desk, candles on the floor, candles on the candelabras in the corner.
I love this ghost, though. I love this ghost. It had absolutely nothing to do with what I told it to do. It's not a newsroom. I don't know what the hell it is. It's more like a crazy mastermind in a Batman movie or something, where he's going to take over the world. And it's watching all the world news, all at the same time in the room, But I love the concept of this ghost, that you can see through it and see the chair. I just love it. I wish I could cut it out. I wish my AI would say, okay, I want to keep the ghost and the chair, and let's switch it around. Like paper dolls, but I can't get it to do that.
Like, you can highlight an area and it'll change just that area, and then you can fine tune it that way.
I'm still looking around. We'll see. I've tried a couple of different ones, getting a feel for it, but it's just fun to do, to see what it's going to come up with. It's just kind of sad. It's very industrial feel, but it somehow, see, the candles make it cozy. If without the candles, it would be really a sad, picture. So there you go.
The bats outside make it spooky, and then the cobwebs there.
Nope. All right. Let's see what else we got here behind them. Just digging that ghost. He's my favorite character. Like I said, I don't know what's blowing out. This thing coming out of the microphone in the smoke reminds me so much of that scene where they caught that cryptid, that little fairy that flew out of the tree. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like the dad and the kids are walking. What's that? What's that? And then all of a sudden this and flies off. That's what it reminds me of.
The one that's not paranormal at all. Well, maybe. But there's a little girl. Do you remember years ago they had these little fairy dolls for kids?
Yes.
That it was on a little spindle, and you pull it and it would fly around the room till it ran out of juice. There's one where a little girl had just gotten hers for Christmas. They're in the living room by the Christmas tree. There's a fire in the fireplace. She pulls a little fairy doll, and it takes off and it flies right into the fireplace.
Right into the fireplace. Explodes in there. And it's like the best.
The look on the poor little girl's face.
That's fantastic. I feel bad, but Oh, you got one, Scott? You got one, Scott, one of those little fairy things. Did yours fly off into the fireplace too, Scott? Or is he talking about that or something else?
You may be talking about something else.
It's like it's funny. I wonder if I can find it. Oh, let's see if we can find it, Steve. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah.
Let me see. You find it. You look and I'll look. Hold on. What are those things called? Thumbelina? What are they? Fairy. Flying fairy.
I've got it's a flutterby, and I've got it here. Let me send you a link.
Send me a link. Oh wait, I got it too.
Got it.
I think I got it. Poor little thing. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to cut the mic off, because I'll tell you what. Oh my goodness. All right, we're right. A Flutterby fairy toy. Christmas memories, y'all.
Oh, that's hilarious. I thought about that the other day, and then
poor little thing. This is Christmas moments right here. This is why this is why Dad got the oh gosh, I've got
the video camera.
The video camera for Christmas. All right. Wait a minute.
This is my new Flutterby fairy, and I'm going to show you how it works. First, you put it on here. Then you press the lock it button. That's that. And then it'll fly up
the I'm sorry, but that's funny. I don't care who you are.
That's good stuff right there. Dad's going to reach in there and burn his hand for his young child just to save that toy. That's fantastic. Did we finish the whatchamacallits here? Let me see. Almost done, I think. Oh, interdimensional. This, I had to put this down here. I love the fact that they said over the past few decades, the thing that keeps coming back or has come back and kind of got a caveat with it. This one's one of those. Whereas, Amityville had a lot of those too. Interdimensional Bigfoot. The theory that Bigfoot might be a ghost or an interdimensional being. They're finally writing about it. Look at this, Steve. Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Ain't that something? And this is the cool breeze.
I wouldn't bet either way, either against it or for it, because I can see both sides of that one.
Yep. And 5 other things too, all at the same time. I really can. I think they're different. I think, look, we're not all exactly the same yet. We're so very similar. You see what I mean? But some of us have the abilities to astral project or lucid dream or, communicate with the dead or see dead people, or you see what I mean? Why not them too? Why are we always, putting everything in a box or, all these limitations? We can't put limitations on something we don't know nothing about. Do you know what I mean? So, you know where I'm coming from, don't you see? I mean, if we don't know anything about it, how the hell can we say what it can and can't do? We're just mere people just asking questions, and we got more questions than we do answers. That's for damn sure. We say it all the time. Can you see this one? Or is it too small?
I got it. The Queen Mary, a retired ocean liner in Long Beach, California, known for its ghostly encounters. And the Stanley Hotel, another inspiration for The Shining, located in Colorado with numerous ghost sightings. Now, in Dark Tales from Every State, the Colorado edition, I did cover the Shining Hotel, the Stanley Hotel.
Did you?
In Estes Park, Colorado. There was ghosts and stuff associated with it long before Stephen King spent the night there in room 217.
Does that go way back? What was the birth, the whole birth of that? Was it some kind of sanatorium or tuberculosis?
Stanley, the guy that made the Stanley steamer automobile, F.O. Stanley, I think was his name.
Oh, really?
He'd had that built, and I think as a resort. I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but his wife liked to play the piano and stuff in there. They've heard her play the piano. They've seen him maybe walking around. It was already a spooky place. And then Stephen King and his wife Tabitha stayed there at the end of the season. The hotel was getting ready to close down, and they were the only guests. And it's this huge place.
Right.
So he's like wandering around in there, and that's how I got the idea for The Shining. Because if you've read The Shining, especially, or if you've watched the movie, you know that the hotel itself is the central character, and everything revolves around it. It's probably the most important character.
Wow. I'll tell you what. Now, this picture, I liked how he did this, but he was reading the news. And he spelled news right. So I'm like, okay. But he looks like he means business. I really like the character, and I love the background. So, again.
There's no candles. What happened?
Yeah. This one, all I did was change the word ghost to reaper. Skeleton-like reaper is what I said. So, if you're out there, like I said, wanting to mess around with this stuff, just one word can change everything. So this is a picture off the same sentence. You'll usually give you four to six different ones off of one sentence, and that here pick which one am I getting close to, kind of thing. Now, this one we know a lot about, because this one I think has got about 8 to the episode, Steve. And we did this thoroughly inside and out, upside down, up one down the other, right? Villisca Axe Murder House, the site of the gruesome unsolved murder in Iowa, now a haunted attraction.
I read something about that today, so this is news. Do you ever watch the Paranormal Files with the young kid on there? And I think his dad's on the show with him now. It's a YouTube channel.
Maybe, but I think so.
Yeah, he had a video coming out. It was supposed to premiere tonight about the Villisca Axe Murder House. YouTube blocked it on the grounds that it promoted self-harm.
Whoa.
And he was just getting ready to get on. And he's got over 1 million subs, so people are really up in arms about that. But
I could bet.
But, I mean,
I'm glad they didn't do that to Dr. Epperly on ours, because I was so honored to have him on. And he was a go-getter, man. I'll come back and do a Q&A another couple hours. And I mean, Steve and I are sitting here going, oh my God, I lost feeling in my legs an hour and a half.
And then I said at the end, plot twist, he did it. Dr. Everly was the culprit.
I can't imagine, though. I can't think about it. First of all, I just dearly love the man and have nothing but respect for him. But to hear him, this sweet person, sit there and tell me stories of how he'd had dinner parties at his house, and for dessert, I guess along with the pie and God knows what else. And he'll tell it just like this too. So I'm not telling tales out of school here, because he's told me more than once. And he said that he'd go and get that axe and bring it out and start passing it around the table. People hold it. That's why he told Steve, when Steve said, well, now you could take the axe and get some kind of DNA on it. He says there's more gravy than DNA on that thing. Because you remember?
Yeah, they pass it around at dinner parties. And this is the axe they use. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine how gruesome? Oh my God. I wouldn't want to hold it. I'm sure I'd get some kind of psychometry or something off of it. Yeah. I wouldn't want to, I can go in the woods and sit on rocks and, pull energy and feelings off of that. I can't imagine one, I don't get along good with that kind of mess. All right. Well, here's the last one. The Lizzie Borden house, the site of the infamous axe murders, now a bed and breakfast with reported hauntings. It sure is. And the Myrtles Plantation, a haunted plantation in Louisiana, reputed to be one of the most haunted homes that there is. So all of those things, those are just a few out of like the 100 that seem to be relevant in the news off and on over decades. And, so you could throw in Borley Rectory and so many other ones, around the world that just say, Queen Mary absolutely stays relevant. How many paranormal groups I know where they're saying, oh gosh, I'd love to go to this one, or I'd love to get, go to the Queen Mary. And it's just funny to hear people getting excited about going to a place like that, doing the same things that, we would be talking about, decades ago. So it's really wild. So you ready to do another one? I've got one here for you. It's about a train. And I thought of you when I found it. And here we go.
Well, weaving through the plains, Piedmont, and rolling mountains are thousands of miles of railroad tracks.
And since the first train connected Wilmington and Weldon in the early 1800s, legends on the rails have left a mark of mystery on the imagination of many. Well, tonight, Chief Transportation Correspondent Hawker Vanguard has a black and white Halloween story sure to give you the Carolina creeps.
Carolina. This was kind of neat.
History has a way of taking us on a trip. Sometimes you find clues about certain things, but not everything. Was it an accident or something planned? 130 years later, and people are still trying to find the answer as to why train number 9 lies at the bottom of Third Creek.
Coal-fired steam locomotive operating, at track speed. Blowing the whistle, the smoke, coming from the locomotive.
Marcus Newbacher with the North Carolina Transportation Museum says some things we know for sure. It was August 1891 at about 2:30 in the morning. Train number 9 pulled out of Statesville Station behind schedule on a trip that would end short of its final destination.
It wrecked on the Boston Bridge, which went over Third Creek. The accident killed 22 people as the train plummeted into the creek down below.
From what we know, the survivors walked back to Statesville and reported the horrible accident.
Why did the Richmond and Danville locomotive with 6 coaches crash? History books have one way of telling the story.
They said that there were some vagrants along the line, and that they had removed some of the spikes that hold the rails together. Later on, it was determined that the railroad line was in financial trouble, and it may have been some sort of attempt to collect insurance.
But it wouldn't be the last time people say Train 9 jumped the tracks on Boston Bridge.
To the day, absolutely, to the day.
Tina McSwain's passion is the paranormal. She's heard the story from 1891, but it's the story from 1950 that brought her and the Charlotte Area Paranormal Society back to the crash site.
There was a lady and her husband had car trouble out on the road, and the lady was left with the car. The man was trying to find help.
She stayed back with the vehicle and claims that just about 3 o'clock in the morning, she heard a train whistle, saw the headlights, saw the smoke, train approaching.
Coming off the Boston Bridge, was very upset, went to find her husband, told him that, she had heard all this massive sounds of crashing, people wailing.
How did they hear and see that train 50 years after the crash? Tina says she doesn't know for sure, but wanted to find out if she could experience the same thing more than a century later. Because there's been so much unknown about the train crash, they didn't expect much.
But the funny thing is, about 3:30, 3:35 in the morning, this great rush of wind came down the tracks, strong enough to blow out 2 candles that we had placed in the middle of the 2 rails.
Could it have been a random breeze or a spectral locomotive? Maybe one of the 22 passengers who never made it out of the creek.
There are certain areas, due to the
horrible
history or the geography of that area, can hold paranormal activity longer.
The tales of the ghost train and the secrets it took with it when it launched off the side of Boston Bridge still captivate many more than 100 years after one of the deadliest train crashes in the Carolinas. In Statesville, I'm Hawker Vanguard.
Get an early start.
Spooky, wasn't it? We'll hear more from Hawker this weekend. He is on his way to Florida for the next SpaceX launch. All right.
That's kind of cool, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Little train thing. Oh my God, Steve, that train going over that bridge. You see it all falling down into that. Oh man.
Right.
Something about a train crash.
Over there, where my dad's from, Jamestown, Tennessee, there was a train that had crashed over there. And after that, supposedly around the anniversary of the crash, you could still hear the train whistle, but there hadn't been any train tracks in there since like the 50s or something. So creepy. Wow. I used to have a black and white picture of it, but the train that before it crashed, of course, but.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. I mean, years ago, I remember us sitting here having long conversations about ghost trains and Lincoln's ghost train. And I think that one right there is probably the one where we've had the deepest conversations on it. It's like, an inanimate object that was never alive, able to imprint through its energy. We start getting stuck because you're trying to make some kind of sense out of this. You can't go at it with physics. You can't, logic, and, only the supernatural and the metaphysical make any sense, because it's not a ghost, really. It's more of an imprint from, I guess, the emotion that was just, almost like a gun going off, if you think about it. Mark Nesbitt and I think Dr. Ramsland was in on this conversation too, and she's, one of the best psychologists out there, and criminologist as well. She's got a wonderful mind. Writes for Psychology Today, I think, 2 or 3 times a week. So sitting on a panel and trying to sort this stuff and having all these people throwing in all these ideas and theories, it's an amazing thing. But when you sit here and you're trying to explain, a ghost ship, not one that just, shows up. I'm talking about an actual mirage or an illusion or whatever it may be, a vision of a ship that, maybe crew, maybe no crew at all, and then just vanish into the night. These things, how do inanimate objects create a reoccurring haunting? It's a great question. We'll probably never get an answer to it. What's your favorite ghost train story? Is it the Lincoln train?
Probably. That one was just because of all the different stories and all the different ways it was seen, and that they saw it with a
sheer number
coffin just on a bare box car. Other people saw it with like a skeletal engineer and fireman and stuff on there. That's just, where'd that come from?
It's amazing. And also to see someone tell the story, it might be railroad workers, could be fishermen, whatever. This would be people that were just, imagine, back in the day, somebody around like the Waltons, kind of time, they're up in the hills, by this old train track, and they're sitting there fishing, cleaning their fish, catfish, whatever they're doing, probably their old bamboo rod. And here comes this train. Here comes a sound of a train coming. And they're trying to process it, because when things like this happen, it's not, it always seems to be you're in a fog while you're trying to sort what's happening, what's going on. You'll say, people will say, I saw a twinkling, and it was like this ball of light. And it sounds so crazy to tell the story. I just stood there and watched all this stuff happen. But that's kind of what you do, because you have no idea what's going on. So these people are sitting there fishing, and they're hearing a train, and you could just see them sitting there, bobbing their bobbers and their fishing pole in the river or the lake there. And well, Bobby Lee, a train he run on them tracks for 100 years or more, and you start processing this stuff. And the next thing you know, you see this big see-through. You hear it, you feel it, the wind, the grass moves, the weeds move, it's crazy. How does that happen? It's, it's very similar to being on a battlefield, like, say, name a battlefield anywhere, like Gettysburg, Fredericksburg, whatever, Antietam, and feeling the horses run by and hearing them, and the hoofbeats and the thunder on the dirt, on the ground. Oh man, it's a trip. There's more to it than, just walking through a lobby of a hotel and seeing some misty thing walk by, a human essence. It's they're different things, I don't know, Steve. It's wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ships are the same, but I think trains are a little bit different. Do you remember that ghost story? One of my favorite ones. It's got to be I think everybody probably puts their ghost stories in categories. You got those fun ones, and then you've got the class A's. This is a class A, and I can't remember the town. I can't remember the train. All I remember is the story. So it was a good while ago, when you still had people working on the train with the steam engines, okay, with the funny hats and the overalls and the whole shabeel, right? There was a train accident, and it was always thought they were blamed it on the crew, okay, killed quite a few people, and they said it was error, their error. But there was two ghosts that would not put up with this, and they were on the crew. So, I mean, well into like 120 years, whatever, how long it's been, there would always be these sightings of one or two or both of these guys, right? And they were always in their overhauls and the outfits that they wore, the uniform. So they're trying to get their story heard. And we get this all the time. And I think it was even, in movies like that Abbott and Costello one, A Time of Their Lives, where they lied about, them they were actually heroes, but they were called traitors, and they were stuck in that well. Same type of thing, I think, with the train thing, where they're being accused of causing this horrible accident, killing these people, and they just could not rest, being lied to about it. So one of them, or both of them, and I only know one of them that did this, as time went by, the ways they would try to get attention would differ depending on what was going on around them, of course. So this area is not paid much attention to. Of course, there was whatever the site that the terrible accident happened. But as time went by, historians started to get a hold of it and started to pay it more attention and tried to revive this area and have a little memorial there. I can't remember. It was a museum or something. I can't remember. But they kept appearing. Now you've got tourists coming. So people are coming and taking pictures. And anytime throughout the years, somebody would take a picture. When they're looking at the picture, there would be this ghost guy or a form of a guy or whatever in these pictures. And they would go to show it. They'd talk about it and everything else. As soon as it would go off the site, the ghost would disappear. Do you remember this story, Steve? It's crazy. And that would get people talking in the town and everything else. They said, as soon as you leave the site, they're going to disappear. You know, better take a picture of the picture or whatever it was, you know, the kind of that was going on. So the historical ladies that are trying to put this thing together, they get to the point where they've got those Polaroid ones, the ones where you take the picture and it comes right out, spits out the picture. They're holding the picture. It's a different kind now, right? So that's the ones that if you left the thing, it would disappear. So somebody took a picture of the picture. They start talking about it. They said, look, they're trying to tell us a story here. They want to be heard. Let's dig into what happened. The ladies dig up the story. They find out it was, they were cutting corners and it was really the owners that caused the problem. They knew about the issue and they let the people ride it anyway, cleared the names of the guys, and they disappeared out of both the pictures. The picture that was there, they left on site, and the picture that they took of the picture and disappeared. They were finally appeased when their story was told and their names were cleared, Steve. How about that?
Yeah, amazing.
I know, right? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. All right, so here's another one. I'm going to get some more water for my tea. I don't know what this one is. Let's see. I guess we'll all be surprised. Ooh, New Orleans. Let's go to New Orleans, Steve.
All right.
This ought to be a kick.
Spirit of Halloween. We have quite the story for you tonight on a haunted mansion right here in Western New York.
Really cool story. Tonight, Channel 2's Michael Wooten shows us how it's even getting some international attention now.
Built just after the Civil War.
To me, it's like going back in time.
Now restored to its original grandeur.
It's a warm house. It's got character.
This Victorian mansion in Orleans County has quite the story to tell. Pictures don't do it justice. This is the Pillars Estate, just a few minutes drive outside the village of Albion. It boasts 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, and an unknown number of spirits.
It really scared me.
Homeowner Tony McMurtry has seen them firsthand. Like when he walked into this room and saw the ghost of a woman with long hair lying on the bed.
I jumped out the room so fast and locked my bedroom door.
The house is featured on New York State's Haunted History Trail.
There have been many incidents of ghosts moving here. We've had footsteps. The piano tends to play. It's a very real spirit.
Tony believes it's the spirit of Mrs. Carr, the wife of the original owner. She died in the library, one of the most haunted rooms. Mrs. Carr often reminds Tony she's still around.
I'll say, stop, knock it off.
We heard a big crash.
The realtor even had a close call.
There was a mirror had fallen off the wall. There was no one else in here, but the mirror was not broken.
The house is now magnificent thanks to Tony's labor of love. It had fallen into disrepair until he broke in and realized he needed to buy it.
Felt like it was calling for help.
He spent more than a decade rehabbing the house.
The whole place has been overhauled from the roof to the electrical, the heating system. Everything's new.
At more than 7,000 square feet, it boasts a Titanic-inspired staircase, parlors, antiques, and an incredible ballroom added in 2011. The Daily Mail in Great Britain even profiled the home. Now that its $1 million price tag has been cut in half, there's been quite a bit of interest.
Perhaps a wedding venue, others talking about bed and breakfast, others just their vacation home from Canada.
But only for a buyer willing to share the space with those who've called this house a home for more than 100 years. And in case you're wondering, the house is on West County House Road in the town of Albion. Tony says, just think about it. This place was almost bulldozed. He's glad he was able to save it. He plans to make the home available to rent on Airbnb starting this spring. Again, the list price is now down to $499,000. No extra charge for the spirits, if you believe in that.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. That's a nice house. That's a really pretty house. I love what they did with the lights when it's all lit up on the outside. That was gorgeous. All right, let's hit another one real quick here. I'll start running my mouth and you won't get to see them. Let's try this one. Where are we going? We are going to
Welcome back, everyone. There are plenty of ghost stories to be told on the Gulf Coast this Halloween week. One of a house built in 1897. It still stands in Midtown Mobile, and that some believe is haunted.
WKRG News 5's Cherish Lombard and photojournalist Arnell Hamilton take us to the bed and breakfast, once Kate Shepard's home and school, where some things that have happened inside can't be explained.
Long before what we know today
Oh,
as Kate
gosh,
Shepard
look
Elementary
how gorgeous
School,
that house
a young
is.
Kate Shepard ran a school out of her
Wow.
home on Monterey Place in Midtown Mobile. She did that until her death in 1952. Today, inside that home sit family possessions dating back to the early 1800s. Some feel those things could still hold some sort of attachment to the Shepard family, possibly a little girl.
Look at the carport.
If these walls could
Wow.
talk, they might tell you about a young girl spotted on several occasions by different guests at the Kate Shepard house through the years. Only no little girl.
Oh, is the little girl your granddaughter? Who's that sweet little girl running around? So, of course, there was no little girl running around.
Wendy James says that was just one sighting of the little girl in the home and bed and breakfast that she and her husband have now owned for 18 years. A contractor doing some remodeling for the couple saw her. Overnight guests have also seen her.
One of the guests from Isabel's room, and I'll show you Isabel's room, said, "Oh, who is the little girl that I saw running around?"
Isabel was Kate's sister, who passed away inside the 4,200 square foot house, and no doubt had a strong connection to the home they both spent their entire lives living in. But Kate and Isabel weren't the only ones with a bond. This house was full of children every day.
For as much as maybe 30 or 40 years, Kate Shepard had her school here in this house. Kate was taking in youngsters, like before first grade. Back then, kindergarten was not mainstream. She was taking in a really younger age group because she believed they were ready for school.
Not only does this old house still hold many of the Shepard family's belongings, including school books and paperwork,
Dick and
many
Jane.
aspects of the house itself are original.
Several of the light fixtures.
Notice it was Dick and
these
Jane.
beautiful built-in bookcases. 3 of the stained glass, the larger pieces of the stained glass, are original.
Oh, I love
9
that.
original
Oh my gosh.
fireplaces and mantles. The hardwood floors are
Very
original. The fretwork,
Look at
that's
that
original
fretwork.
in both
Oh.
the front foyer and the dining room. The butler's pantry is original.
Very strange things have happened around that butler's pantry.
One of the doors of the butler's pantry, which requires you to push a button, a little lever to open up the door, literally flew open in front of us.
Just above the pantry, an unexplained wall of water rushed down from the ceiling.
Right at the entrance of the butler's pantry. I was just about to serve breakfast, and there I am coming out with dishes in my hand, and this wall of water comes down in the butler's pantry. It was a heavy, it looked like a wall of water.
Wow.
Just went kapoosh. Got the plumber in and they said,
kapoosh.
We don't see any leak here. We don't know what you're talking about.
The ceiling
Wow.
still stained. That happened more than once. Just feet from the butler's pantry, a
look at
fireplace.
those plates. We have had things fly off the mantle. One was an antique plate, an old Bellingrath Gardens plate that we were at the table, and one out of all of those plates flew off and landed on the floor, and of course was smashed to smithereens.
Whatever or whoever inhabits this house with the Jameses doesn't seem to mean anyone any harm.
Honestly, I think it's mischievous. That's all it is.
And whatever it is,
Look
will
at that
likely
house,
remain
Steve. Look at that.
unexplained. The
Yeah,
Kate Shepard
gingerbread.
house
I
is
like it.
up for sale
I do
not
too.
because of the unexplained, but because Wendy and her husband are downsizing. They're hoping the new owners will
It's a big
continue the
house.
bed and breakfast they started and will cherish Kate and her family's things, which will stay with the house as much as they have through the years.
Wow.
Cherish Lombard, WKRG News 5.
You could start painting that house, Steve. Start on that gingerbread in, like April. You wouldn't even get around by the end of October maybe.
Yep.
But it'd be fun, wouldn't it? It'd be fun.
I don't know.
Had you
how
ever
much
heard of
fun
that
it
one?
is to paint, but no, I'm not familiar with that one.
Me either. These are fun, aren't they? They're short and
Yeah.
sweet.
So we got more?
Yeah. All over the place. Okay. Old Salem Tavern. This one's got to be good. I like the New Orleans one too. That was nice. All these houses are gorgeous. I would just, ugh. I'll tell you what, the upkeep is bad though. Let's see. This one looks promising. It's got a lot of color.
We're here at the Tavern Museum, right here in Old Salem, home to several area triad haunts. Today, it's the living history town that offers several stories of the unliving. We're here in the cellar of the Old Tavern with Brian Coe. You are the director of interpretation.
Yes.
Well, and I know there's several
I want
stories,
that
but there's
job.
one in particular. It's what, the story of the stranger or the
Director of interpretation.
For the traveler
I
here
want
at
it.
Salem, he came to the tavern late one evening, very dark and rainy, and he was sick. The tavern keeper took him in and called for the doctor. The man was unconscious, and they treated him for several days, but he did pass away.
Oh,
But he
no.
never gained consciousness to tell them who he was or where he was going. And so he was buried in the stranger's graveyard here in town.
That's so
But
sad.
several days later, the staff started noticing odd things happening in the tavern. They felt like
Adult.
they were being followed or watched. They felt cold spots. The barkeeper didn't want to come down here in the cellar anymore by himself. And so one time, the tavern keeper's maid screamed and came running in saying that she saw a person upstairs. And so he went upstairs and saw a misty apparition of the man who had passed away
Look at
a
that
few weeks
house,
earlier.
Steve.
And so
Look at that
he told
floor.
the tavern keeper how to contact his wife in South Carolina, who came, gathered his effects, and put him to rest, so to speak. And supposedly all the incidents stopped after that occurred.
Wow. And that's just one of many, many stories
Many
here.
stories here in town.
And now I hear you're having something called what? Lanterns and Legends
Legends and
tour?
Lanterns tours, yes.
Okay. And how do people find out about that?
www.oldsalem.org. And we have tours on October 28th and 29th from 7 to
Berkshire
9 p.m.
Hathaway.
There's a tour that leaves every 15 minutes with a guide
that what
and
it said?
candle lanterns.
Wow. Well, for Carolina Insider and Brian Coe, I'm Karen Myers.
There you go, Carolina.
Good stuff.
Yup. Wow. That was a fun one too. I want that job. I want that job where you just dress up like that and you take people around, tell them about the house, and move along, move along, move along. You know?
Director of interpretation was the man's
Yep.
title.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep. That's a lovely. What are you doing? I'm interpreting. I'm just interpreting everything. My theory, my idea. That's great. What are the
Can
requirements?
you do an interpretive dance about the history of the place?
Martha Graham, Martha Graham, Martha Graham. All right, let's see. Biltmore. I think I've got 2 on that one. Let's see what these cackling girls are doing. Cackling, that's all we need. Hold on 1 second. Let me get it. Here we go.
If your cell phone plan isn't spooky enough for you, this Halloween we know of one place that will really scare you.
Yeah, in the spirit of the holiday, Veronica White went inside a home that is reportedly haunted.
Kerner's Folly, you probably heard about it. It's been investigated multiple times for paranormal activity. Well, little Veronica spent the night there with our
Little
photographer,
Veronica.
Katie Gore, and here's a look inside of Kerner's Folly.
I would go nuts if I had to be in that room. Look at this house,
The
Steve.
strangest house in the world.
Wow.
It's Kerner's Folly's nickname, and it's easy to see why.
Wow.
Well-known interior decorator and designer Joel Gilmer
Look
Kerner
at that.
built a quirky
Look at
house
that.
with its elaborate decor and winding staircases in 1878 as a home for him, his wife, and their 2 children, and as a display of his work.
And he really used this house as his catalog. Every fireplace in the house is different, every doorway, every window, so his clients could come through and pick out what elements they wanted for their own homes.
But in addition to being a beautiful
Kind of like a display
historical
model.
house in Kernersville, it's also featured in books and online as a place to have an otherworldly experience.
We investigated in June 2009, and I saw a woman standing on the stage upstairs in period clothing, bent over one of the chairs, and she disappeared in front of my eyes.
It's already been investigated by several teams of paranormal experts, including SPARS, better known as TAPS, made famous by the Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunters. Both this and the local groups have declared the old home haunted, and the home's new director, Dale, isn't surprised, but says the Ghost Hunters report the spirits as friendly and harmless.
I've heard rumors about laughter and giggling, just kind of this fun family atmosphere in the children's playrooms. The theater, there's also rumors up in Cupid's Park. I've never really heard anything concrete, but there's just kind of rumors of activity up there.
After Mr. Kerner and his wife passed away, the home was vacant for years.
Look at this
It was then
room, the
rented out
yellow.
to businesses in the 70s and
Wow.
opened to the public in the 90s. Now it turns many ghost skeptics into believers who sometimes suggest that the builder is still showing off this masterpiece of a home. I'm Veronica White, WXII 12 News.
That's kind of different, isn't it?
Veronica says they were freaked out after visiting that house big time.
Yeah, she's going to be back on Monday on Halloween, and she's going to show us what they actually found inside that house.
Let me tell you, it is creepy. So make sure Monday morning you watch.
I'm sorry we missed that. But did you see? I've never quite seen a house like that before.
No, that's unusual, but I get why I did it that way. So that way you could bring people over and say, pick out what you like, and I'll make yours in that style.
Display house.
They're
I don't
pretty
know about that
ingenious, yeah.
yellow one. I mean, it'd be pretty to. Yeah, I couldn't live in it. I couldn't live in it. It'd be like living inside a lemon meringue pie.
There's a house in another town over here. The outside of it, it looks like they painted it with a yellow highlighter. I mean, it's that.
Oh,
it's-
that's too yellow. It's got to be a creamy
it
light
hurts
yellow.
to look at. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is like a.
Yeah, that was
some
like too
bright
much.
yellow.
It looked had too much whipped cream, accent stuff going on there. I would have just the whole thing just made my jaws ache thinking
It's like
about
it's lemon meringue house. or
lemon
something.
meringue pie. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Be like living in one of the funniest shows ever written was that Frasier. And he used to go off, the dad and the dog and his brother and the maid, the whole thing. It was just
We
very
love
well
Frasier.
written,
We
very
still
well written.
watch them. That's one of the best shows ever on TV.
Yeah, I agree. And he was all big mad about this one day. This guy above him had got a huge American flag. And they had these, I don't know, $1 million apartments in, Manhattan or wherever he was living.
Seattle.
And the balcony is above him, and the guy's got the flag hanging off the balcony, and it's so big it's hanging over his balcony. And he comes out in his burst of, just fit and fury, says it's like living inside a clown's pocket. And I about fell off the couch laughing. That's a funny line. That's a funny line. And it looked like that because the red and white stripes, it's just it's like living inside a clown. So that makes you think of, Twilight Zone. And do you remember the Twilight Zone where there are all these people talking and they're adults and they're all, like one's like a soldier and one's a nurse and, all these different people, and they're having a talk. And then by the time you realize they're all toys in a toy box and they can't get out of the toy box, and they're all just toys that came to life, these action figures,
Yeah.
just I think about all those things
think
connect.
I remember that one.
Do you?
Weren't they
Was
dolls
a
in a
clown?
garbage can?
Yeah. Maybe it was a garbage
in a
can.
round room, and they couldn't figure out how to get out. And they,
I don't know.
yeah,
It's
there was an
terrifying.
action figure and a
Absolutely
clown and a
terrifying.
ballerina, and it was a bunch of dolls. And the parting shot, they're back, and you see a bunch of dolls in a garbage can.
Yeah.
I
There's
love-
another one with this really spoiled little girl, and she's got a dollhouse, and it's similar to that. Or maybe I'm thinking of a story. Was it a Twilight Zone or was it a CBS or a Radio Mystery or one of the two? I know I see the girl. It had to have been Twilight Zone. Probably more than one story written like this, but she's got a dollhouse, and these people just think that they've pulled up into a town that, to them, they're just in a deserted town. They don't know where they are. They took a wrong turn, Steve. But this little girl's chubby little face with the bow in her hair and all that, one of those, truly darling little girls. She's looking down in the thing and messing with him, and she's got the roof off the dollhouse, and they're all like, that's how it ends. Like the spider with the human face, it was a spider or it was a fly. The fly with the human face and the spider web, and it's screaming, "Help me!" That's like iconic.
The fly was been surprised.
That's
That
what it was.
scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
I know. Just that. Oh my God. There's another one where the people are little, and I don't know how they got little, but they wound up being little, and they're trying to escape whatever it is they're in, and the cat gets them. You remember that one?
Yeah.
You remember that one? Oh my
That was,
God.
I think that was Land of the Giants. I think. You remember
Was
that?
that what
show?
that was? I thought all of these, my mind just goes back. It was a Twilight
Yeah,
Zone.
they all kind
It was
of
Twilight Zone.
run together, but there were some good episodes of classic TV back in the 60s.
What was it, chat? Was it? I think it was. Yep. What was it? Wait a minute. Clown dolls, ghost kid. Yeah. Are you hearing what? Oh, they keep. Oh, I thought. Oh gosh, I thought he said you keep hearing a little girl laugh. Don't do that to me. Somebody else was hearing it. As long as you're not hearing it like behind me or something. That's creepy. It came at a bad time. I'm thinking about those toys in the toy box. There was another one where the people got shrunk, and the telephones were big, and I think they wound up. The cat was chasing them or something, and I don't know. Those kind of stories always kind of creeped me out when I was a kid because you just wind up being small. But, it also made me, I promise you, I don't think I've ever stepped on a bug without thinking about that.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, did it change you guys when you saw it? Did it stick in your head? Because I feel like it's terrible. Like I could just walk up and I have to kill an ant. You can't come in the house. You can't stay. You can't be here. I can't, I'm one of those people that'll pick up something and put it outside. But,
I try to give it a fighting chance.
Yeah. I'll trust me. Unless you're a spider, you're a goner.
Yeah.
You are such an instant goner.
But I
I'm
can
sorry.
cohabitate with a spider if it stays up in the corner of the room and catches flies and stuff.
I had a bad
If I
experience.
find it on me or in my bed, it gets a barrel at sea.
Yeah. I had, I know wolf spiders. I get it. They're the natural predator for a lot of them, and if I can tell you, but listen, if it's dark and I'm like, you're a spider, your chances, your life expectancy isn't very long around me because, like I said, I had a bad experience. I come by it honest. All right, these last two, I think this is a good one. Let's see. I'm trying to see which one is which. Was the Ghost Bird Tales? This has been pretty nice. It's nice in the news and still in the news, which I think is kind of cool because I'm glad to see the paranormal supernatural. It's
a lot of the
certainly
local channels
continues.
trot this kind of stuff out every year around Halloween.
Yep.
And there's dozens of them here on YouTube. Love it.
Yep, I do too. And if you don't know that these are out there, they're hard to find because you don't know what to title them. Usually, if you find one, then instead of changing and putting it in again, go look at the suggestions because there'll be a couple there and you can kind of filter through that way. But there's a lot of good stuff. All right, let's see what this one is. This is Piedmont, the Biltmore Hotel, Steve.
The history of the building housing the Biltmore Hotel Greensboro dates back to 1895 and Caesar and Moses Cone.
When Caesar and Moses Cone traveling the Southern Railroad will land in Greensboro, North Carolina, discover that the Quaker farmers here have amassed a huge amount of cotton and indigo because of the Civil War that's going on.
They decided to set up shop and bought a mill. They started making some money, and as the hotel's general manager, Brian Coleman, explains, generating a lot of tax revenue. But their headquarters was in New York, and the city of Greensboro wanted their piece. So the city filed suit against the Cones.
So I use the expression of Caesar and Jeanette Cone will bite their thumb at the city because in one afternoon in the summer of 1897, Jeanette and Caesar Cone will purchase every piece of available property in what was then considered downtown Greensboro.
In 1903, they opened 111 West Washington Street as their new headquarters.
This was the first building in downtown that was completely wired with electricity and fastened with indoor plumbing.
Eventually, it was sold to a group of men, one of whom by the name of Philip Mullins. The bottom floor was leased out to the post office, but the post office left abruptly in 1933.
And this gentleman here is Mr. Philip Mullins.
What happened to Mullins could have played a part.
In 1932, in the late fall of 1932, Mr. Mullins' body will be found at the corner of West Washington and Green Street.
He'd supposedly jumped from a third-floor window, but there were rumors circulating and an odd ligature mark around his neck.
But Mr. Mullins more than likely didn't jump from a third-floor window. More than likely, he would have been pushed.
And while his body was shipped away, some say he never left.
Philip has a habit of gracing the cheek of young ladies or females, period. He'll tap you on the shoulder. Most people describe walking down the hallway and getting that spider web on the skin feel.
In 1933, things changed, not just with the post office leaving.
And there will be a young woman found at the foot of the stairs at 111 West Washington Street. In the reports that we found, she was described as a young redheaded lady known to her friends by the name of Lydia. It is thought that Lydia was pushed from the banister from the second floor, so there wasn't a tumbling down the stairs. She had been pushed over the banister and landed here. In the time that I've been here since 2009, there have been 5 men who have filed reports that they have been pushed down the stairs.
Women have nightmares. Couples get interrupted. 4 construction workers thought someone was in their bathroom late at night, only to find it wasn't any of them.
None of them were brave enough to open the door. So what they did is they threw luggage and shoes down the steps and hauled butt out the front door.
The one people see the most also happens to be the smallest.
The little blonde-headed boy that rides up and down the elevator, we have no idea who he is or where he came from.
Nearly everyone's experiences seem to be largely peaceful.
The mother comes down the stairs up to the desk, and she is very, very, very upset. She wants to know who this redheaded woman is that's been hanging out in the bathroom with her son for the past hour talking to him.
In all, 4 people are known to have died at the hotel, including a man about 5 years ago. And the strange happenings have continued to this day.
But 95% of the time, it's those people who don't know any of the backstory, that haven't come looking for anything supernatural. They're the ones who run into it.
Good news, New Jersey.
Good news, New Jersey. And while we're waiting on Cisco to get back, how's everybody doing tonight? Good to see you here. Thanks for showing up for the show. Oh, looks like we got another one. Nope, same one.
I was talking to you the whole time, had no idea I wasn't here.
I was soldiering on that. This looks like another one about the same
They
place.
then
So I'll
commissioned
shut up now.
Yeah, it's a
Oslo
little bit
Epps,
deeper. It
who
tells
was
a couple other
favored
stories. It's pretty
architect of
good.
theirs, to construct a
And then we're
4-story
out.
brick building. When the building was opened in 1903, it was described as well equipped and state of the art in every way. It was the first building in downtown Greensboro that had been completely wired with electricity, had been completely faceted with the new technology of indoor plumbing. And then in 1920, the Cones will go on to install Greensboro's very first electric elevator, which is the one we still use. During their times here, before the Cones leave in 1924, one of their accountants, Philip, we're not sure of his last name, the records we never could find.
He's going to tell it again, but it's a good story.
Philip was one of the accountants who worked for the Cones. He was the second one, actually, but his body was found shortly before the Great Depression at the corner of West Washington and Green Street. He had jumped from one of the 3rd floor windows. Well, at that time, if we know Greensboro streets now, Green Street is on the far corner of the hotel to the left. And so there's no way to jump from a window here and land at the corner. So at the time, the alleyway that runs now to the next to the hotel, it was actually Green Street in 1913, 1912. So his body is found. The police report that we later found was suspect because there was a piano wire lodged in his throat when his body was found. He was the second accountant to meet a suspicious suicide, but the second of 6 that will meet a suspicious suicide. All accountants, all working for the Cones. 332 is the room number that contains the window that he jumped.
Told you there was more.
Depending upon what the actual truth is. Philip seems to be a ladies' man. If there's a single female on the 3rd floor, he's been known to wake them by tickling their feet or rubbing their cheek, is what some ladies have reported. Also of a low male mumbling, as if someone's standing outside the door talking, but not quite loud enough to where you can hear what they're saying. And the ladies always report of peeping out the peephole or cracking the door to see who's there. There's not anybody. I guess no soul in the hallway, as people would say. The Cones need a larger facility. They leave here, go around the corner to another building that Mr. Epps created for them. And at that point, the top 2 floors are purchased by a very colorful entrepreneurial woman by the name of Ava Taylor. But what she does is she purchases the top 2 floors at 111 West Washington Street, converts them into 5 apartments on each floor. All of Miss Taylor's tenants are all single females.
Here
The
we
building
go.
is split into half. So the apartments is known at
Love the
111 and a half
the
West
decor.
Washington.
The
There
back with
was
the rags.
an article
Perfect.
or report, very simply put, nothing elaborate, by the Greensboro Police Department at the time, where there was a young woman's body found in the mid to late 1932. She was found at the foot of the steps at 111 and a half West Washington Street, which would have been right over there behind that, where that door is now, would have been where her body would have been found at the time. She had been pushed from the second floor. We later found out her name from the report that we found. There was a young redheaded woman, early 30s, known by the name of Lydia, found. Her body was found at 111 and a half West Washington Street. And Miss Lydia makes her presence known quite frequently. Third shift reports of hearing what sounds like someone standing at the top of the second floor and throwing a ball. So you get that bump, 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 bump noise, and then it just suddenly goes quiet. So she has become so popular that we have people who explicitly ask for that particular room, and they will leave her trinkets, different things, to appease her. We painted the room pink for the sheer fact of the medium said that her favorite color was pink, and the activity slowed down. Didn't stop, but it did slow down. So we've had people who have brought her
Probably moved
jewelry that has pink stones, pink lip gloss, pink chapstick, pink eyeshadows. One lady even brought her a pair of pink shoes. There is a pink sequined purse that one of the former general managers was trying to appease her so she would leave people alone. So they put that in her room. There's rose quartz that people have left in the closets. And of course, when people find these things,
I
you
don't
kind
know,
of have
that
to
room
explain
feels
why
funny.
they're there, but no one's quite brave enough to take them. Then people have left her all kinds of perfume and shampoos and things that they felt that she might need. I don't think she has much use for it anymore, but I'm sure she appreciates the gifts. I think at one time, some research that I did
Looks
found
like a nice
that
place, Steve.
the hotel 111 West Washington Street was on a list
Lots of yellow.
of
Lots of yellow.
on the top 12 most haunted places in the state. I don't think we're on the list anymore, but at one time the hotel was there. It has housed people since the doors were opened in 1903. Given the reputation of the Cones accountants, the ladies who lived here, the people who came and went from this property in the 113 years of its existence, some people find it comforting, and some people actually come in and request, "Am I in the haunted room?" And because they get, whether it's something that you make up in your head or if it's actual something that's actually transpiring and actually happening, I guess it's just up to the person it's happening to. But anyone who has ever experienced any paranormal phenomena here at the hotel, you will not convince them that it's not real. If anyone is brave enough, we are more than happy, if it's available, to book that particular room for you. Now, we can't guarantee that you'll get that room,
Look at that
but we will do
building.
everything in our power if someone requests to stay in
Lot of brick.
332 or 223, then we can. So reservations can be made on our online or our website at thebiltmoregreensboro.com. You can call the hotel. There's someone here all the time. Locally, it's 336-272-3474. You can reservations at thebiltmoregreensboro.com.
Anybody going?
Front desk.
Who's making
Given
reservations?
the nature of the building and the stories that revolve it, the owners doesn't like it being empty or anyone not being here. So there is someone on staff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we continue on even Miss Taylor's tradition of we have a wine service in the evenings. That seems to be the
where is this again, Steve?
At the hotel.
Biltmore?
when we bring out the
Greensboro,
wine in the evening, that
North
seems to be everything
Carolina?
just kind of calms. But if you're here during the day and you hang around until
Anybody
the sun
close by? If you're not
sets,
going, Echo's not going.
and Washington Street kind of falls dark, you can
D-Rock says
definitely
call
tell
it.
that the ambiance inside the building changes.
Call the number. Hey, we're watching your video. There you go. I'm ready for Halloween, Steve. I don't know about you. We're always ready for Halloween, though, aren't we, hon?
Always.
Oh, shoot. I left it up. Here we go. It's funny. This Halloween's going to be different though, because little man's going to be here.
Yep.
That's
Can't
going to be the
wait.
first one. Yeah, a little trick or treater. Look at that. Isn't that great? You can get all excited now. You know, where's your bingo card? Who's got your dates? You know, who's holding that? Who's in charge? Is that Cat?
I think
She
Nicole's
holding all the
keeping
dates.
track of it
Is
too.
Nicole
but
keeping it? Okay. Well, there you go. I'm glad it's not me because I can't do numbers and keep them in my head. I have to write everything down. That's for sure. This was fun. You know, just a little news around the world. So what's the news in your world? Do you have a haunted house in your neighborhood? Do you have a haunted hotel close by? Ted, I know Ted's got priests walled up in his pantry or something, don't you, Ted? I mean, down his well. Doesn't he have something down the well? Is that Ted? I could be off, but I know somebody's got a well in their living room or something, don't they? Is that you, Froze? That just would creep me out knowing that was under my floor. I don't know why. The weirdest things. I don't like crawl spaces either, to be honest. You know, and I'm not big on having the washer and dryer down in the basement because there's just times you don't want to go down in the basement. Just keep that upstairs where you can just, you know, basements aren't for washers and dryers. That's just my opinion. You know, that and $12.50 will get you a cup of coffee. Is it $12.50 yet, Steve? It's darn close, isn't it?
Yeah, getting there.
For a coffee. Can you imagine? Do you remember when coffee was a dime? On the streets of New York, coffee was a dime, and you got a coffee and a smile, by God, you know. Unless it was the 70s, and you got it for a dime, and you might get a smile, but you might get your ass stabbed too. It's kind of coming back to that. So, isn't it funny how stuff comes around? You know, it's all been done before, folks. You know, it's why I see, what was his name? It's just an example, but you know, you see all these wild bands and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know, I saw that. Yeah, I remember seeing that when Alice Cooper did it back in the, you know, there's nothing new. What's that saying? Nothing new on the.
Nothing new under the sun.
There you go. I don't know who said it, but they weren't wrong.
I think it's in the Bible.
Okay. Well, there you go. So there you go. A higher authority. So what's going on with you, Mr. Stockton, this week? You know, if you don't go,
business as usual, getting ready for the baby.
Nancy.
This place looks like a baby warehouse in here.
Does it really? Are you wearing roller skates yet?
Not yet.
Does he?
But getting ready. I don't think it's supposed
Now,
to be.
people, if you're sending clothes, please listen to an old broad who's had a few kids. You know, because I'll tell you what, just like anything else, you want to go to somebody who's been there, you know, and you know what I mean? It has a little weight, you know, so think about this. If you're sending clothes, think about sending clothes that are past 6 months to a year. Because the thing is when you have a new baby, especially a new baby that's going to be as popular as the Stockton baby, you get a lot of newborn clothes.
He's already got fans.
They're so precious. They're so little and they're so cute and they're so and they're hard to pass up, but they grow so fast. Yeah. So some people have babies that they go right into 3 months. You know, they go right past newborn, do not pass go, you know, go straight into, and the moms, they just can't even put them all on, you know, and that's a blessing. You know, it's a nice problem to have. But if you really want to help out, send something that they're going to use a lot, you know, later on, because they hardly get it. People start to forget when it's like six months to a year. You know, you're not getting flooded with, you know, tiny little booties that are this, you know, this big. And, you know,
he's got these little boots that are just gorgeous. And he might be able to wear them like the first month or so, and then he'll grow out of them. But I love the little tiny newborn stuff.
I think too, where you know where you're at and your climate and stuff like that. You know, if it's really cold. I know my kids they weren't cold. They were clean. They were probably too clean. They were probably too fussed over and cared for and looked at and, you know, watched over. And I was the mean mom that, you know, wouldn't let them run roughshod over Walmart because, you know, listen, I paid attention and I knew what was going, you know.
Yeah.
So you got to love them. You got to love them hard. You know, you just, keep them going. But yeah, send clothes a little bit, think about jumping up a couple months just for, think about how long that'd be. It's a tricky thing. It's like throwing, you're rolling the dice a little bit too. But I know with me, the first one and the amount of pictures, and after the second one, it's like, why is there's like 5 albums of, such and such. You only got like 4 pictures of me on the refrigerator. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's like I had to work. You eat more, whatever. But it's fun. So what are you doing this week? You got the radio show. Who you got on?
Undecided as of right now, so I'm not going to say anything. I've got 2 or 3 feelers out, so but it'll be interesting nonetheless.
Well, this has been fun. And listen, the radio shows are always good. You guys are doing a great job on the channel. I'll tell you what, it's when you do a little bit, and you're by yourself and you're sorting through things and you got stuff you enjoy. At my age, I only do the stuff I enjoy. When it stops being fun, I don't do it anymore. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I've got this like multifaceted bipolar, sometimes possessed and sometimes I don't even know, what I'm doing. I just go off on these wild things and, listen, it's fun. And you're trying to teach yourself how to do stuff. But some of these production, YouTube stuff that people are putting out, like you guys and, what is it, Belief Hole and, different, the things that you can do when you really dig into these great software, Adobe's and photos. It's just the world of stuff.
Literally, if you can think of it, you can make it now. It's just,
there's some.
I've taught myself all this as I went along. Never had a class in anything.
Me either.
Like this.
Me either.
Photoshop.
Phone
Adobe,
calls to people.
Illustrator, Adobe, Audition, and a whole bunch of software
and stuff. And somebody asked me once, well, how did you make this picture? What did you do? Well, first I put it through this app on my phone, and then this. First I went, found the picture, did this, cut it up, did this, put it through this app on my phone. Then I did this, and I ran it through a cartoon app. Then I loaded it up to my. And they were like, what? And I'm like, look, I don't know how to do things like your kids.
And you get those people like,
I go through the back door the long way home.
15 minutes. Tell me how to do what you do on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't. And then you get real deep in, like you guys with the research and stuff like that. See, when we started out, it was fun. We used to do radio. It was more like iTunes, that kind of Spotify and that kind of thing. It's a whole different format. It's very structured. It's very, which is cool for a long time. It was wonderful. You get to talk to people but I was always, hey, YouTube, where you can go live and you can talk to the people out there. You can reach out and touch a few. It wasn't about, big numbers. It's about, I know a lot of people that are doing this too. And a lot of them are in the medium realm or the light worker realm. Let's just say it that way. And it's just, they want a tighter group where they kind of know people. They've got a feel, they got a rhythm, they got a cadence.
It's not broadcasting, it's narrowcasting. Instead of out this way, you're narrowing it down this way.
Yep. And then it's great. It's like being in a military where you have your squad, you have your your regiment, but you have your squad and everybody meets and regroups and we learn more. We learn from each other. I mean, I learned tonight, with different things. And, listen, this is going on in every town everywhere, right? And every ghost story we hear, every UFO thing we hear. I had a whole nother thing with a lot of other stories and stuff. We'll save it for next time. I found Paranormal Files BBC. It's great, but it's kind of like extraordinary, but in their own way. Everything's got their own flavor. But that's the thing. On YouTube, everybody's got their own flavor. And I'll never be one of those people that with all this production and, because I don't have a squad, like Y-Files, look at all the people involved in that, but the people that are here and on the camera will tell you, and they're watching too. They're watching the other shows too. They'll say, I can't do it like this, and like these people. These are the people that I look up to because they can just rattle. Where
that's the people I'm jealous of. I have to do all the research, do the audio, the video, everything. It's Nicole helps me out as she can.
So deep,
But
so
it's
deep.
basically a one-man show. And you see these guys, they've got producers, they've got directors, they've got people that editors
Research.
and things, and
Sound guys, tech dudes.
researchers.
You
Yeah,
know, I hit a button, I'm screwed. Yeah, just saying, it's happened.
Oh, I've lost audio
You know,
before
so much stuff.
through
So
my
much.
own fault, and then through the software's fault before too. And there's nothing worse than having to go in and re-record something that you already put blood, sweat, and tears into.
It's not only that too, it's like over the years, you know, people say to me, like I've had people get in my DMs like after and just yelling at me about, and I know they're not yelling, but it's just they're passionate about what they're saying. So if it's coming all in caps and it's like just blah, 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 they're machine gunning bullshit at you, and you're just like, hold on a minute. First of all, I'm drained. Second of all, what the you talking about? And second of all, listen, I have been doing this for years. Do you have any idea how many ghost stories I've told? How many cryptid stories I've told? How many Bigfoot stories I've told? How many dog man, grandma turned into a werewolf? And look, I've got a real tight niche too, because I don't go into like the creepypasta realm and the horror and the stabbing and the stuff like that. You know, a lot of people I know that are into the paranormal about where I'm at, they listen to a lot of true crime too. And it's so funny to hear Eric from Unseen Paranormal say in a conversation, I was talking to somebody else, but I was overhearing what he was saying as well. And he said, every once in a while in the paranormal, he says about 4 times a year, I have to get really deep into some true crime to cleanse my palate from the paranormal so I can enjoy it again. You don't understand how long we've been in this. And a lot of times I'll reach out and I'll do a Lewis and Clark, because for me, going back in history like that, it helps you refine your filters. It helps you refine your discernment, your love of history, your appreciation of the people that walked before you and fought the hell they were in and survived, because if not, we wouldn't be here. And it gives you hope and inspiration and so many things and wisdom, because if they made it that far, they knew something, and if you can dig down enough to get those facts because you're smart, and you can pick apart BS quick. So you have to have the facts. And I can't tell you in a story, the facts of a story unless I dig. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of research. So it's going to also have to be something that interests me, that intrigues me, because I'm putting in the hours to research it. And that's also, I think, a deep hole that podcasters, creators fall into, because listen, there's only so many cryptids unless you're going to make stuff up. If you're staying in the true path, depending on what your genre is, there's only so many. I think there's probably more UFO and alien abduction stuff. That's probably up there with the amount of ghost sightings and hauntings. That's probably about balanced, about even, because it's both been around a long, long time. There's less stories of werewolves and then dogmen and then chupacabras and Loch Ness monsters. They're smaller pocketed, smaller groups, right? But it takes a while. After a while, you just want to say, you know what? I want to dig into Abraham Lincoln and find out maybe he was a vampire slayer. I don't know. Let me dig and find out. And then you dig into and you find out the secret group gathered together of his friends just right around him, just like Caesar. And the whole time the dude's having premonitions and warnings that's telling him. It's almost like he willfully walked through this muck and mire of danger and betrayal. And it's almost like it was meant to happen. And there's so many different stories like that. It gets very interesting. So I say all that to let you know, the short version of that, it's my podcast. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to talk about. And I hope you'll be here with me. And it might not exactly fit into paranormal or true crime or, whatever. But if you dig around, you're going to find out it fits into human beings and life. And that's what the paranormal and the metaphysical and the supernatural is. And all of that together is how we get through what we're going through now. And I hope you'll be here to talk about it, to throw your wisdom in the chat. I hope you'll share it out. And I hope you enjoy. We have 2 more shows, Steve, on Liberty the summer event that we're doing. Lynn will be back next Sunday. She's been on vacation, so it's just been me and the Sons of Liberty and all the Patriots and Ben Franklin have been hanging out, and we've been having a ball. We had George Washington guide. His ghost came back from the other side just to give us a tour of Mount Vernon. It was lovely. Lovely wallpaper, lovely scenery. And so it's been fun, because there was a lot of wisdom thrown down on the table back then. And I think we could do to listen to it again. And I hope you watch it with a kid and or a friend or your pet, whatever turns you on. So we'll be back next Monday, won't we, Steve? And you will let us know as we get ever closer to the big event of not only am I speaking of Halloween, my friends, but I'm also speaking of the arrival of little man Stockton. And, we're all on edge at this point, and we want to do what we can do. I've been teasing them with something that it's taken me a long time, but, you'll see why. And I hope once it crosses the miles that you guys can share it with the chat. And because it's
sure, we appreciate
got a lot of heart.
It's
got a lot of heart, man. It's got a lot of heart. And so the thing is I told my son, I said, we might even have to just ride it out there. It's like it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So listen, everybody, send your prayers to the Stocktons, send the prayers out to everybody here that needs that extra, love and everything else. It's an absolute pleasure to be here talking to you guys. You have no idea. I told you that whole story to let you know too, is a lot of people watch a lot of different shows. You can't really compare them, and you don't really know where the people have been, or maybe they've already done that stuff and they just honed it out, like me, where I just cut all the BS out and do what I want to do now. So instead of following a ridge, because on a network, there's, oh man, the production and the producing and the rules and the lining up and the amount of shows. And, I've been on that train, and it's rough, it can be very rough, and it's hard to keep up, so it's a lot goes on behind the scenes. This is just us. We're having a good time. Love getting together. Mondays are my favorite, getting together with Steve and just catching up and, but boy, is that not true. There's only so many. Sometimes you got to reach out and do something fresh, and just try to glean from that, whatever you're supposed to learn at that time. Because I'm telling you guys, it's coming fast and furious. I'm sure you guys are feeling it too, where that awakening, we're getting a lot of these little downloads and taps on our shoulders and stuff. So sometimes I just do it, and then I find out, wow, that's why I did it. So I hope you enjoy it. And if it's not for you, I hope you come back on the next show. Hit the like on the way out. I love y'all. My love to Nick and everybody, and give Mulder a little pinch on the cheek for me. And good night to everybody there. Please, on the way out, if you haven't subscribed, please do. It doesn't hurt, doesn't cost anything. Also, put a comment on the videos after they load. That helps me out a lot too. And I'll see you guys next Sunday for part 5 of Liberty, the Revolutionary War. It's been fantastic. Then we're going to go into Sons of Liberty. I'm going to rip that apart historically, because boy, did they take a broad brush on that sumbitch. Yeah. And then we're going to finish it up with a very, very historically accurate turn, and the spies, Washington spies. Steve, good night, honey. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. See you soon.
Subscribe. I need it.
Comment, like, share, subscribe.
Thanks for all the love.
Good night.
Oop. Back again. Here we go. Hey, listen. Consider watching Liberty. Six parts. It is free to watch. Liberty at archives.gov. It's been quite the experience. Good night, everybody. Good night, Scott, Echo, D-Rock, Froze, Ted. See you out there. Good night, Kat.